Welcome everyone to episode 130 of the Looks Like a Movie podcast. My name is Kevin. I'm here with Owen. Doug is not here this week, but we're doing a Q&A about the movie that Owen and I just finished filming. So we're not talking about a new release this week. We posted online that we would be doing a Q&A. You guys sent in your questions. We'll talk about those in a second and just talk about the movie as a whole in a second. We could still talk about what we watched, I guess, over the course of what has been now like 3 weeks since the last time we
Oh,
were
yeah, I forgot
on an
about
actual episode. Listeners of the pod
wow.
know that the last 2 weeks we did audio commentaries to make up for Owen and I not being around. But we're finally back. Neither of us really watched a whole lot
Yeah.
while we were filming, but we did watch some stuff together. You wanna take it away?
Yeah, it's interesting because yeah, we did it's 3 weeks of viewing, and it's sometimes
It's
there's
like two
weekends with
movies.
more than, more days.
Yeah,
Yeah, we saw Highest to Lowest in theaters,
we
which
did.
we're gonna talk more about next week, right?
Yeah, yeah, we are
We're
gonna
also,
spoiler for the end of the pod. We are gonna be doing a
yeah.
highest to lowest episode next week, so
So
I
we
guess we
did see
can't
that
say
it
much.
worked out with our schedule,
Yeah,
that we were in Providence, and it was playing at the Providence Place Mall, and we saw that with some of the other cast and crew,
yeah.
and yeah, it was really good. I like that movie, but we'll talk more about that next week. And then we had already wrapped shooting, right? We were done shooting. I think we are done
We were done
shooting,
shooting, and
and we
then we had a
watched Magic
little
Mike
yeah, Magic
XXL.
Mike 2 wrap party, which for listeners of the pod, I really wanted to watch Jackass 2,
Yeah,
but Owen and Kate
yeah,
preferred Magic Mike 2, and you
um
know what? Like, I also prefer Magic Mike 2
okay.
in general, but
You were kind of really wanting to watch Jackass too.
well, the thing is like
You were
I
really
Magic Mike
pining.
2, if you know me, then you know that's one of my favorite movies. So it's like
Yeah,
I watch it a lot. I don't really
mhm, yeah,
need to see it as often.
sure.
But it's always fun to show it to somebody who hasn't seen it. So that was cool, at least.
Yeah, Kevin proposed this as the 2 options, and we
Yeah,
picked
both
one, and then he was
sequels to
not.
movies that like weird two options, but they were fresh on my mind. Like I was like, I saw something about Jackass 2, and I was like, man, and sadly, Teague was not there on the night
Mhm,
that we were
yeah.
having this movie night, which we'll talk about Teague a little bit in the Q&A, of
Of
course.
course.
But Teague was not there the night we had a movie night. In my head, like a week earlier, I was like, oh, it'd be so fun if all of us like watched a Jackass movie one night. And we didn't really
Yeah.
have a ton of movie night time or
Oh,
energy,
yeah.
more
Yeah,
importantly.
that too. It was
Um,
I mean, we'll talk a lot about this, but we shot only a lot of times it'd be like a 5 hour, 4 hour day, but we get home and everyone would be like kind of very exhausted and tired. So I
yeah.
think Magic Mike was a good one. Even though we were post shooting, like kind of like it was like a nice, it's fun,
Listen, we had a
but
good
our
time. We had a
brain
few
is gonna be
drinks. We the movie was
yeah, no,
fun.
I
I
think
think I think I
that's probably
picked
the
a
right
movie
choice
that
pick.
was like good vibes for
Yeah.
for the mood that we were in.
Yeah, so that was all we watched during the actual shooting, and I wasn't I've been in a weird spot where I haven't been rushing to watch a movie, but I ended up watching The Worst Person in the World last night. Um really, really enjoyed it. Um yeah, I didn't see this when it came out. I've been aware of it for a long time, and I don't think it was something that I know Doug I feel like Doug really liked this one, a
Doug,
while ago,
I
but I don't know
yeah,
if
he
he's,
probably liked it a similar
grown
amount to me, I'd
grown apart
guess.
from it. I forget. I feel like this was something he really liked, and of course, it came up before,
Yeah.
and with Sentimental Value coming out soon,
Yeah, I was gonna
which is
ask,
I
is
think it
this
was
kind of just like a New York Film Festival prep choice?
well, I was talking
'Cause
to
you are
Kate about it,
seeing or you are planning on seeing Sentimental Value at
yeah,
the
no, that I
festival,
mean,
right?
I
Yeah.
definitely I'm excited for that. I know Teague saw it in Paris,
Yeah.
a couple days ago, and we're talking to him about that. And I think it got brought up a few times on set, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. And I was like, why not? Let's just give it a spin. And I am happy that I did because it kind of I felt like the beginning of the movie I was like unsure how I was gonna feel about it because there's just some technical things that it's just not how I would do it, but that's okay. But the more I got into the movie, the more I kind of emotionally kind of fell for it. And I was talking to Teague about it too, actually this morning. And he was like saying how like he preferred like the longer it goes on, I think he says it gets better. And the more I was kind of in its wavelength, the more I kind of liked it.
Yeah,
And
towards the end, it's
there's some
just
moments that
like
I was like, oh, I did not expect
right.
that. I really didn't know what to expect. I don't have any expectations other than I just have seen that poster a billion times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
So I'm excited to
you get swept up a little bit because I was
see.
thinking a lot about when you watched it, I was thinking about Oslo August 31st, and today,
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
you and
which
I
is
missed
aug
this morning,
yeah, I
is
know,
August
very
31st at the
funny.
time of this
I did
recording.
not,
Um,
plan that.
yeah, another one of his movies, and, like, even with that movie, I feel like it just, like, builds on itself, and then you get to the ending, and it is just kinda, like, all really emotional, and Worst Person in the World, same deal, where it's, like, towards the end, it really wins
Yeah.
you over, I feel like. I'm
But
excited
yeah,
for Sentimental Valley too.
that is that was my 3 weeks,
Yeah,
really. I
that's
mean,
it. I mean, yeah,
not
same as Owen. I watched Highest to Lowest and I watched Magic Mike 2. Not much to add to either of those things for the same reason as Owen, but it was fun to see it with our pals. It was fun to watch it both of those together. And then yesterday, kind of in the same vein, I watched Strange Days, a Catherine Bigelow movie, because I am trying to kind of get
oh, yeah,
started
yeah.
on maybe what and a lot of the movies I'm most excited for at New York Film Festival are from filmmakers who I'm already pretty well
Yeah.
versed in, like Kelly Reichardt, my favorite filmmaker. I would hope that I'm well versed in, but then, like after The Hunt is opening night, I've seen enough Luca movies, like movies like that, where it's like I've seen enough movies from this person to understand what I'm getting into. Catherine Bigelow made one of my favorite movies ever, Point Break. And I've
Burt
seen
Locker,
like yeah, not well, that's what
one
I
of
was
my
gonna say.
favorite movies.
I've seen like Zero Dark 30 or whatever. I mean, she loves to make
Oh, yeah,
movies
yeah.
about like the American military now. That's kind of her whole deal now. And it's a weird place that she's in where it's like this is probably could be or maybe just even is one of the best filmmakers alive, but like not really sure what she's doing or where her interests lie. And maybe sometimes it's even like critical of the systems that she's portraying, but
Sure.
you kind of can't deny that it's also just like weird that all of her movies are about either like cops or the FBI or the military or like some position of authority. And in a lot of ways, like yeah, the ideas she wants to explore have to do with those positions. Um, but yeah, it's just like all the time, and I'm like weird little career. But Strange
Yeah.
Days is like earlier movie and it felt a lot. I mean, some of my favorite movies are just movies where you can kind of tell that like maybe the reception was a bit all over the place at the time, but you're watching it in the present moment and you're like a movie could not have aged better, I was talking a lot or I was talking yesterday while I was watching it about like Paul Verhoeven and how I
Oh,
really
yeah,
like
yeah.
Showgirls, and I was like, and I haven't seen any of his other movies, but just based on what I've heard, it feels like he makes a lot of movies like that, like sci-fi movies where it's like at the time people are like, "Oh, this is a little bit weird," and then like 30 years pass and people are like, "Wow, this is actually a
This is how
masterpiece."
life is actually right now.
Yeah, and
This
watching
is
Strange Days, I was like, "Man, I we live in these strange
we live
days."
in strange
I'm
days
like,
for sure.
I'm watching the movie and I'm like, this is I mean, even like some of the
Yeah.
and the movies like I will say my biggest complaint about the movie is that it's like really exposition heavy in places that it doesn't even really need to be. Like it's a James Cameron script, funny enough, and James Cameron, people have criticized his writing a good amount, and I typically don't have a problem with it, but in this case, there are like a lot of moments in the movie where they're like describing a lot of information to you that has already been shown to you, and it's like I don't know if we really like the movie's pretty long. It like feel it's not like super long, but it feels long because they're just talking at
Yeah.
you a lot of the time. But a lot of those conversations are still like not only applicable in the ways they are in the movie, but you can even like start to think about AI in the same ways as like the conversations that they're having and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, it's just kind of aged perfectly. And it's also a lot of fun. I mean, Ray Fiennes, Angela Bassett, it's like really, really good movie. I'd recommend. But yeah, that's similar to you. It's just the one for
Yeah.
me. We each just
Well,
watched a movie. So
nice. Well,
but
we'll get back on the
yeah, we'll
list.
get back into that was the other thing. I was like, it was kind of weird. Like I got home after filming and I was like, I kind of don't want to watch any movies for a couple days. I was like, I kind of just like don't really
Yeah. Well, I'll even say,
need
like,
to
I mean, this
decompress.
year for me overall, I mean, there are, plenty of people will look at the number. I don't even know what the number is, but and be like, "Oh, that's a lot of movies." But it has been like a down year for me just because of how much time
Same. Yeah.
spent on making the movie. Where it's like, and a lot of times when I'm watching something or picking things to watch, it's hyper focused on watching for like research purposes or look,
Yeah.
this could maybe helpful for the movie. So it is a little weird being disconnected in that and now like focusing on like the next thing. But also it also I do I kind of have a feeling of like I don't want to watch any movie ever again after making the
Yeah.
movie because I was
And of course we do,
but
but it's
but
just
but
like,
now I'll probably watch a couple things a day and
yeah,
get
we're
back
just
into
like
it.
caught up a little bit and everything else going on. I just checked on mine and I'm like, I'm just about to reach 200 movies on the year and we're two-thirds into the year now, which does feel, 200 movies for somebody else might be a lot, but
Yeah,
for
yeah,
us,
yeah.
I feel like that's
I
not
have
all
like
that many.
288. Let me see it
Yeah,
because I last year I watched 690,
right.
but
So
like I think
nowhere
the year
near that
before that it
pace.
was like a lot more. But like 690, I'm not gonna hit 690 this year. I'm not going to.
Yeah, not even close. And
So like,
also, like, there's still so much to do now for the rest of the year.
oh yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's
so
not like yeah, but
yeah.
I mean the 690 last year definitely helped get the like the movie itself doesn't really
Yeah.
exist without those 690s, so that's all prep and work in itself, but it is interesting now taking a bit of a there's I kind of, where it'll be interesting where I plateau in that area
Yeah.
because, but of
Okay.
course, New York
Well,
Film
let's
Festival, we'll watch a bunch of stuff there,
that's
but
true. Yeah, we will be seeing a lot. Let's shift gears then. Let's do a little Q&A. Let's probably open this with some context in case the odd
that's true.
person that like just
This
clicked
person
on
listen,
this
if this is your
podcast
first
doesn't
episode,
know.
it's probably not a
Yeah,
great
if this is for
episode.
your first episode, because we'll probably do some like clickbait title, like a we made a movie, and then someone watches it and they like don't know who we are. Um, yeah. So for context,
Yeah,
Owen and I, well,
my
mostly
skin's
Owen,
gonna
but
I
I
feel like I'll
I
rip my skin
contributed.
off.
We made a feature film, and over the last 2 weeks, shooting took place.
Mhm.
Uh, there was a lot of months leading up to that of writing the
Yeah,
script
I
and casting
mean,
actors and everything else. Then we could talk about that with the Q&A
we
questions.
I
Um,
texted you about the movie in, like, December of
yeah,
last year, so
yeah. So it's been a while. Yeah, we like sat down. We
yeah,
wanted to
I don't
write a
know when we
script.
started, like, writing, but I
Yeah, people
definitely,
were asking me on set, and I was like 8 or 9 months ago, probably. Like I don't know. Like I was like, it's probably
yeah, I
been
mean,
a
you have to, like,
while.
do some
Um,
deep research on that, but,
yeah, but
it was
yeah.
I do
So
remember it was December when I talked to you
that
about
makes
it
sense.
first,
Okay.
so it was a long time
Uh,
ago.
yeah, it was a long time ago. So that's like the sort of context. We sat down, we started writing a movie, and then we decided we were going to launch a crowdfunding campaign that many listeners of this pod contributed to. We
Yep.
raised like around $25,000, give or take, because our the website that we raised the money through has to take a little bit of that. But we had over $20,000 as the
Yeah.
budget. And then we yeah, like over the last 2 weeks, a couple days ago, we wrapped filming, and now we're here to talk about that entire
Yeah, the
experience.
day that this goes out will be a week after we wrapped.
Yeah, a week after we wrapped. Yeah. So, and we filmed it over 10 days, short filming schedule. Title of the movie, 10 Dates with Anna Marie, if you're a first
Mhm.
time listener. Otherwise, you probably know that. So, okay, that's the context you need. Let's answer some questions. I put So the first question I put on here, this is mostly a you question,
Okay.
and kind of a prep question for the listeners to go along with that context you just
Yeah.
gave. If you had to create a watch list of movies to prep for 10 dates, what would be on it? In simpler terms, what movies were the biggest inspirations for it? This is from D Maida.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, so if would this be from like a I guess it's like from a viewer perspective
Yeah, I think it's
because
probably for both. I think it's both
I
like what inspired
did
you and also your inspirations will probably,
yeah, because
you
I
know,
had like formal inspirations that I sent to Teague, and me and Teague were Teague was our TP. I sent him some stuff, a lot of stuff, and then I also some of the actors I sent some movies, and I sent Kate, who Caitlin Sparks, who was our lead actress. I sent her like a handful. Like I sent her like a syllabus of movies. But those are very different. Like all of them don't kind of overlap.
yeah.
And then Steven Radosha, I sent him two movies as well that were separate. So there's different movies for different parts of the
Yeah.
machine.
I guess
Um,
broadly, what
but
would be like the
broadly,
biggest
um,
inspirations?
I think it's tough to say. I feel like I'm going to eventually make some list
Yeah. I mean, you
of
have to
things.
put the Hong
I will
Sang-soo
say
movie in there, right?
yeah, so I think
Novelist film.
conceptually, I think when me and Kevin started making the the project, I kind of used Ten Skies and James Benning as like a baseline
Yeah.
because of the structure of the film and how we were thinking about and how I was kind of proposing it as an assignment, really.
Yeah.
Where I remember going to work in the morning and being like, okay, I want to start doing this feature. Me and Kevin kind of talked about doing like a rom com for a
Yeah.
while, and I was like, what does that kind of look like? And I was thinking of like when you do a rom-com, there's like beats in a rom-com, and there's
Yeah.
like sort of like, okay, what's the angle? What's the
Right.
angle to this rom-com? And I was at work and I just didn't really know what the angle would be. I was trying to looking for an angle, and I don't really remember when it kind of hit me, but I was just thinking about because I just did Hodgepodge, my short film, and that one kind of had like it wasn't married to a structure exactly like this, but it did have rules. It did have its rules, and I did have, I was shooting that in a way where it was edited in a way of these are the rules and this is how it works, and then that's gonna how it works. So I was trying to once I just found out, okay, this needs to have rules and this needs to have a structure. I really was thinking about betting and like how then it became into that like okay there's going to be 10 dates, they're all going to last 10 minutes, they're going to be in these blocks, and then it kind of came into like that was the easy like oh this would be kind of easy and fun to write because we don't really have to write it very traditionally. We can kind of write it almost as like these 10 separate scenes.
Yeah.
So Benning was an inspiration. There's a shot or here and there where he's in mind, but more of the structural intent was
Yeah.
inspired by James Bond. And of course, the title has grown but that was kind of from the jump. It was a kind of a Ten Skies reference in a way of it being 10
Yeah.
dates, even like it being 10 spelled out rather than the number. But yeah, Hong Sang-soo's, specifically the novelist film, as like a kind of digital black and white piece that is inspiration for sure, but also Hong Sang-soo in general in terms of the way he works and the way his movies kind of work. He does a lot less prep than we did just because of the way
Yeah.
that he kind of shoots super fast. But I would say like was very inspired by him and John Jost in terms of their views on how movies can be quick and easy, and we don't have to do 16-hour days where everyone
Yeah.
uh is not well, we were exhausted, but more so like everyone's kind of miserable. And I remember I talked to John Jost actually maybe a year ago. I was talking to him, and he's basically like because I was talking about how he films super fast. He was talking about how he doesn't understand why these big studio movies shoot for so long, and they do all this coverage and bullshit, whatever. And basically, his response to why he's able to shoot quickly is because he was like, I know how to do it. I go to set, I know what I want, I know how to do it, and it's not that hard. It's not that difficult, and doesn't take a lot of time. So that was a lot of stuff I was thinking about when making it and kind of thinking about how to construct it because we were working with the biggest budget I've ever worked with, but also in the grand scheme of things, not a big budget.
Yeah.
So it was both stylistic influences and where my head was at with how I want it to work, but also thankfully where my style is also kind of uh
Yeah.
cost effective. And also I think it worked. I it was but it became that way, it became like, okay, we have to pull this off every day. Where we had those 10 days of shooting, we had the 10 different dates, we had 10 or 9 different locations. Spoiler alert. But we each day we were in a new spot. We each day new actors were coming and joining us, and we had an allocated amount of time. We couldn't shoot from 1 a.m. to 1 a.m. We had to had this block of time. So it was really like we came every day with like 3 or 4 shots, sometimes less, but every day we'd have a shot list basically in my head. I didn't really make a shot list, but I knew exactly what shots we needed to get, how we were going to do it, and we just showed up and we did it. So that was a lot of kind of Hong Sang Soo Benning, John Jost in there.
Yeah.
But in terms of the writing process, completely different. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of Woody Allen and Hal Hartley and Eric Romer and countless other people. But there was definitely like I was reading things and I found myself reading movies, which was
Yeah.
almost this is a challenge that I kind of put in front for me where I've done some stuff like years ago with little like scripts, like bullshit scripts or whatever. But for the past couple of years, I've been doing what if I would do something with an actor, it would be with a friend or a relative, and they wouldn't really be saying lines, and they would be kind of a model in my movie. And I wanted to work with actors, professional actors or people who want to be professional actors. Uh, you know, I wanted to work with actors, and I wanted to work with dialogue. So it was kind of a thing where I was at a point where I felt really comfortable with how I thought about movies, and I was really comfortable with how I thought movies should look and how I wanted my movies to look. So I kind of took a step back and stopped really focusing on those things because I knew exactly what I wanted. So I didn't really need to search for that anymore. And I began searching for how do I want movies to sound or speak, I guess is the better phrasing. So I was hyper focusing on words and language and kind of people talking. So I was watching a lot of stuff like that, and less looking for image based cinema just because I already had found what I wanted from that. And which is what I kind of go back to what I was saying in terms of the viewing where I was also Whit Stillman as well. But I was viewing specific things because I was looking for very word heavy cinema to inspire the writing, and also was reading books and stuff like that for inspiration, and then just taking a lot of notes, and writing a
Yeah.
lot of things. So that's kind of I would say I'll
Yeah.
eventually make a list probably when the movie comes out. I'll have like a more like this is like a little fun little watch list that can go alongside. I'm really liking it. I'm not in New York, but I really like the what M Night's doing. With that, like they're showing one of his movies. Like I think they just showed The Happening and The Blob
Yeah. Like
together,
double
and
features.
that's
Yeah.
super fun. And I'd like to sort of like do. I maybe it'd be fun to like have like some companion movies. I think also Coppola did like a list for Megalopolis where he was like, these are the
He
kind of
did. Yeah.
companion movies. So I think doing a companion movies list
Scorsese did
would
something
be
similar
fun.
with his letterboxd
But it
account.
is, I think it'll be fun. It is funny because uh, we I was pulling from very different things a lot of time, vastly different movies. I mean, I talked to Caitlin a lot about like horror movies, um, and that kind of being an inspiration for some of the character stuff. And then like visually, it's very like slow cinema, kind of experimental stuff. But then it's
Yeah.
very the dialogue is all very like literary, wordy, like kind of stuff like that. So very different areas for the performances in the script and the
Yeah.
kind of cinematography and stuff like that. But so that's kind of my that's a
Yeah.
long-winded kind of thing for that,
Uh,
but that's basically where
right.
I'm at with that.
Just to just to summarize and focus in on the question because we need to get Owen like a PR guy that teaches him how to answer
No, no,
questions for
I'm
the
gonna
future.
this is good.
Um, the if you need a watch list, what I gathered from that was watch a lot of slow cinema, watch a lot of talky romances broadly, and then Woody Allen, Hong Sang-soo, James Benning, Romer, uh, Whit Stillman. I'd even throw in like more broadly like the Before trilogy,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
somebody mentioned When Harry Met
Oh,
Sally on set, and I was like, that
Linker
would be
Linklater for
a fun
sure.
one to watch.
I didn't really I
Um,
actually was meaning I wanted to watch Before Sunrise, yesterday, but I
yeah,
actually intentionally didn't revisit it when writing it because I felt
yeah,
like I didn't want
exactly. Because
it's
then we
almost
don't
like
want
it
to
was like
copy it
it's
too
kind of
much.
it's the,
Yeah,
like, immediate thing you would go to with that kind of
right.
as a reference point, so I avoided it. But yeah, John Jost as well, I think all the premieres in New
Yeah, John
York,
Jost. Sorry.
was a I'm gonna actually rewatch that after this, been meaning to, but that's another one too. But yeah, I that's there's a lot of names in there and there's a lot of movies. I think
Yeah,
even if you want to look back at I don't know where you would start, but my viewing kind of from the
right.
past 6 months
Around
or
that
whatever,
time.
a lot of
Yeah,
those movies are definitely in here. And in small ways too. I think I almost there might be lines in the movie that someone might be like, "Oh, that's like similar to something like this," and you actually might find where I kind of got that from, or that was where I was thinking, you know. But there's so much stuff baked into it that I am not gonna be able to tell you all of there's so many things that I kind
yeah,
of I've almost forgotten where things originated from or where I came up with the idea because there's 9,000 ideas in the movie, you know.
right. The good thing is you also answered like 14 of
No,
the
I
other questions and describing that. Okay, the second question, from Chaz Mullis: Did Kevin face any constraints with the screenplay given the shooting time frame and the structure of the film? I would lead by saying just to clarify for people who might not be familiar or just to like have this out there in the world. This is not like a movie that I completely wrote on my own. In fact, I would probably even argue that the workload split was even leaning more in Owen's direction. Like it's probably more a 60-40 than it is even like a perfect 50-50. So just something to like
how difficult
put
was
out.
it?
What'd you say?
No, no,
Oh, okay.
I was like, what difficulties did you face working with me?
Right. No, I just want that to be out there because I don't want people to think that I just like wrote this whole
Yeah,
thing
when they're
by
like, "This script
myself.
sucks," they're like Kevin's, like,
Yeah.
taking his name off the fucking movie.
Right, yeah, no. No,
No,
the script's awesome, but just so that people know that I didn't, like, wholeheartedly write this whole thing and then just, like, hand it to Owen. Owen, like, did it with me, and in
yeah,
fact, like, a lot of it is Owen's own invention, so it's not like this is, like, my own, thing, but, like, in terms of, like, what the question is, like the constraints from a screenwriting
yeah,
perspective. I mean, it is what Owen talked about, which is just that like the structure is not anything that I have ever written before. But also, what he said is that it's very convenient because they, the 10 dates feel like 10 short films on their own, and I have written plenty of short films, so that's not like new to me. I can't say that I've written short films with a recurring character before, so in that sense, it feels different because I am still like when I'm writing, I'm always thinking about character, but now it's like
yeah.
I'm thinking about character, but I'm also thinking about like how I don't have to think about character because of the way that the film is structured. So that's
Yeah,
like I don't think that that's a constraint. I think it was actually I think if anything a lot of it made it easier because so much of the stuff that I typically get caught up in and spend so much time in writing a script was not like a thing I had to think about while we were writing this because so much of the character comes from the actors that we picked and from the
mhm.
dialogue that we wrote where it's like they're bringing so much to the words that we wrote that we don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about like oh would this person say this or what, and sometimes I would question Owen and I'd be like does this make sense, but for the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
part anything that we throw out there kind of makes sense. And even something that we said to the actors a lot was like it doesn't even matter if you have good chemistry with Kate or bad chemistry with Kate, or like if this is like
Kate
if you
hates
deliver
you.
these lines in this way or you deliver them in that way, because the way that we wrote it is very like open ended and anybody can just like kind of bring whatever vibe they bring to it. So from
Yeah.
that sense, it was like less constraints and more just like freedom to write a bunch of words. Yeah, like,
Yeah, yeah.
and we wrote a lot of words, in
A
fact,
lot of
so many
work.
words that you won't even see a lot of them in the
Yeah.
final product. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's, like,
Mhm.
a ton of constraints as much as it is just, like, different. And as far as, like, the time frame part of the question, I mean, the shooting time frame was very short, but the build up to
We
it,
worked
we
on it for
spent
a long
yeah,
time.
we worked on the script for a long time. In fact, we were editing the script all the way through till the end. So,
Mhm.
like, not the end of the shoot, but almost
Yeah.
the end of, like, preparing for the
No,
shoot.
it was
Uh,
interesting. The timeline was interesting because it felt like there was times where it was like, "Oh, we have so much time," and then it felt like, "We have no time." So, that it was but I will say, kind of to go with your when talking about 60/40 and just kind of the way we worked, I and even you said something about, like, you questioning whether things, worked or not. That is how I always felt, and I really enjoyed working with you, and I felt like it was such a productive kind of way to go about it because I felt like in previous times when I would try to start a script, it's kind of the daunting task of the first
yeah,
page, and there's like so much to do. And I think the way that I kind of describe it is almost you were like my real time editor in a
yeah,
way where a lot of times I would because we would do it all over like a video call, and I never had access to I never typed a
yeah,
word really.
yeah, I was
Um,
the one typing the entire script,
so,
yeah,
we would what happened would be, like, I would go off and I would write pages of notes, and then I would come back to Kevin and with all these notes, and then it felt like putting a puzzle together. But
yeah,
I would come back with 10 notes and we maybe use 7 of them, and Kevin would be like, I don't think this is great. Or it would or sometimes the notes would change or things would change, or we'd go back and this note would come up here. And so it was a lot of like figuring that up. And sometimes there are parts what I would kind of be like, all right, I kind of like set Kevin up and let him kind of run with the thing
yeah,
if I think he would do a better job with that kind of part. But yeah, it was a really collaborative thing. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that I was kind of guiding it, but definitely you wrote every word in terms of you actually
yeah,
physically typed it in. And a lot of times I think it would I think the real time editing of it made it work in a way where it felt like we were being productive every time, because if you're just typing and you're like, "Oh, this is all bullshit," you have to redo it. Even though we did redo the parts over and over again,
yeah,
it felt like, "Oh, we're doing something that's actually, like, good," because it's not like just my thoughts spewed out on the page. It was my thoughts spewed out on the notes, and then we turned the notes into
yeah.
actually, like, a movie.
Write a
Uh,
screenplay, yeah,
which I
and
think, yeah,
even,
worked out
like
really well.
yeah, I'd even echo that sentiment about working together, which is like, I don't know, like in the past at least. And so for most of like my time going through school studying screenwriting and just writing in general, like I was never somebody who cared for collaborating. I kind of avoided collaborating and sometimes I'd have to for school. And then even then I
Yeah.
would just kind of like I would see the script and I would like I just like if there were situations in school where I had to write with someone else and they had ideas, I'd be like, that idea sucks in my head. But I would just be like, you know what, do whatever
Yeah.
you want. I'd be like, I don't really want to like get involved. And then working with Owen, it's like so it like kind of completely skewed my perception on like collaborating on a script because I'm just like, I would rather just write every script I ever write with Owen. Now I'm like, this is like perfect, kind of the perfect like situation for how I think Owen and I both our brains work differently, but I think we're good at being around each other and like being able to like
I think that
understand
helps.
how each other's brains work. Like with where it's like I mean Owen and I do just talk all day, every day. And so we do kind of understand what we both want to get out of something. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is like that collaborative process is about as perfect of one as I could imagine for somebody who previously hated writing stuff with other people. I was like, I just want to write all my own things. And now I'm like, I kind of
Yeah.
just want to write things with Owen. Like I'm fine with that. So that
I think
changed a little bit.
I think that's where I've talked to this with Teague and I talked to this with Kate, and we'll get more into this when we talk about more on set stuff. But I think when working with because I've done so much stuff alone or really by myself, and I think when doing something this big, if you're not going to really trust everybody you're working with. You don't work with other people. And I think when you kind of you said about like the working with people and you're like, oh, this person's shit sucks, but I'm gonna kind of let him do it. I was
Yeah.
very allowing of you to be like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, hey, let's just now we have to figure out how
Right,
to
I
make it
would
work.
actively make fun of Owen if I didn't like stuff, and there were certain
Where
there's certain stuff that is so dumb that it works in the script, but then there was
yeah,
stuff where I was like, "This is fucking stupid," and thank God we didn't use it, or maybe if
yeah,
we did
yeah,
use
yeah,
it, it
yeah.
would've been
But
good, but I'm
there
happy
were
that we,
there
like
were times where I would present something to you and you would tell me it wouldn't work. So now it was my job to make it work. And I think
yeah,
it became a better or that part was better because of that. And that you're not gonna get that like that challenge. There's no one there to challenge you if you're writing alone, right?
yeah,
So that part of the movie, if you're like, oh, it's fine, this is whatever, I like it like this, it'll stay there. Uh, but I think the script's better because of that, like, kind
yeah,
of those
and even
challenges and then not in like a there was never like I never like left the writing and be like, I fucking it's like, it's like that is that opened kind of challenge and kind of accepted kind of iron sharpens iron sort of thing,
right,
that I think
uh,
was beneficial to the work.
yeah, and even just in, like, the spirit of collaboration, I'm like, I think from I would like what you were saying, from all of our perspectives, it's like we wanna, like, do as much as we can to lessen all the stuff that Owen is doing. And so from my perspective, I was like, I will just be obviously like we wrote the script together, but it's also just like I will just be Owen's right hand man whenever he needs me to be. Like it's like we did do the whole casting process together and I did just like
Yeah.
even on set, like it's like I was like, yeah, I'll drive 4 hours every day to transport
No,
people to
I mean
set
that
because I'm like, that's like a thing that I can
yeah,
be helpful with. And like I don't want Owen thinking about like Owen's job is already the hardest. I don't want him thinking about things that he doesn't have to think about. And so like that's kind of the I think in the spirit of collaboration, like we do have a team of people that we trust enough to just be like, we can do these things for him so that he can do the important shit, and then
yeah.
we make a good movie by the end of it. And we'll
Yeah,
talk
and
about that because
I
we're
will
gonna
say,
get
I
to like
mean, it's kind
set
of it is a
questions,
little, like,
but
unclear entirely what your role is, and because I think you of course, you like we said, you wrote the movie, but you kind of hinted at it there too. I did kind of there was a lot of, like it's I don't really understand a lot of the what the roles some of the roles mean, and a lot of them are kind of fluid. And
yeah,
if it was like a kind of a almost a co-producer sort of thing that we were doing when, like, we watched a bunch of auditions together. We did a lot of the casting decisions together. A lot of that was, I mean, we did the whole crowdfunding campaign. Like a lot of that was like we worked on that together. So there
yeah,
was more that you were doing behind the scenes that maybe I don't know if a lot of people are aware of, just because it's kind
right.
of like it's
And
confusing.
I'll accept more than one title in the credits if you want to
Yeah,
put
yeah,
it
yeah,
there. Like it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
all
But driver. But yeah, I mean that was such a big. I don't remember who I was talking. I might have even saying to you, but um, because we did fly in a lot of people, and a lot of people traveled to be in the movie just because we just a lot of the actors were from New York and stuff like that. And when Kevin was going to drive, like going to go get people from the airport, we were like setting up or getting ready to shoot the movie. So if I was off driving people, I would have been way more exhausted.
yeah, yeah, and
And
it did catch up to me by the end.
no, yeah, for
But
sure. But like we wouldn't have been. I don't feel like we had been as prepped if I was worrying about the traffic. I mean, of course, I was driving, but I was driving as the right amount. I feel like,
yeah, you were driving only
any
the amount
more,
you needed to
yeah,
drive.
any more driving might have, just caused more issues. But
Yeah,
also, there would be times where, I mean, we would finish, we would wrap, and then you would go leave and do the airport thing, which also was a lot. Like that was if we don't have anybody, I was like, oh, who's gonna fucking? I mean, we would have figured it out, but it really was helpful to
right.
have someone
Yeah.
there, and if
Yeah, I did
hopefully,
have
or
some
in
long
the
days.
in
I had a lot
the
of early
future,
mornings
we'd have a
and
guy
late
who's that was
nights.
his job, and
Yeah.
he would be hired as you don't have to do that
Yeah, in the
forever,
future,
but
if we have enough money, we'll just buy people Ubers and call it a day.
yeah, yeah. But
But,
it was yeah,
no, but I yeah.
that's the indie filmmaking right there. I mean,
And you
you're
know what? It was like I'll
co-writer,
say this.
co-producer is out being the lead driver out there.
Yeah, we're dragging this question on a little bit, but I will say on the
Sure.
subject of driving, the one thing that was nice about it from not my perspective, but from other people's perspective is there were a lot of times
From
where I
not
was
your perspective.
leaving the airport and I was just like this actor whose only day it was on set
Yeah.
was just in the car with me for like over an hour or technically if we're
Poor
going
guy.
there and back for like 2 hours. Yeah, poor guy. But like spending like 2 hours alone with me in the car for like every day, depending on who the actor was.
Yeah.
And multiple actors told me they were like, this is, a nice thing because now they're like before they even get to set, they get an hour to like already be comfortable with someone and understand like
Yeah.
what the vibe is. And then they just like kind of immediately fit in and it makes it a lot easier for us to like get in the flow because we are shooting so fast where it's like if there was this whole like
Yeah,
awkward
there's that.
thing and there's like
Yeah.
stuff to figure out, it would have just made it even harder. But thankfully I got to like
Yeah, I think it
ease a
worked out
lot of
really
their
well.
stress, I think. So that's like another part of it where it's like I liked doing that because I could fucking talk. I mean, you guys, if you're listening to the pod, know that we could talk. So it's like I could sit in a car and talk to a
Oh, yeah.
stranger for an hour. So that's not a problem. That was like a cool aspect of it, even. Okay, let's try to I put those were just like two like pre-production questions. I put a couple questions here that are just like quick answer questions before we get to
Okay.
the meat of like working on set. And
Sure.
some of these are just like stupid questions. Like Doug asked who was the most annoying crew member. I only put that there because I wanted to say like kind of nobody. Like we all did like
Um,
really. I mean, to varying degrees, we're all annoying, but
sure.
also we did really like have a great time. Like we all did really like each other.
Yeah, and I think it's something that I keep thinking about, and not to drag this question on more than it needs to be, but I, of course, was hoping that everyone would be nice, and you hope that there's so many, like, logistical and variable, like, kind of aspects of the movie making
Yeah,
that you can't predict how anything's really gonna go, but there were a lot of people that I met specifically for this movie, or just people that I knew, but they didn't all know each other, that I was bringing in. And some people that I knew more than others people, like, I don't think I mean, I've known Teague for a few years now. I don't think we met in person for the movie, but I don't even think we, like, had a phone call before, like, a month or 2 before the movie, just talking about the movie, and so stuff like that, where I would, either I'm hiring someone that I met on Zoom for one time or something, so
yeah,
there was no predicting, how everyone would mesh, and it was almost a running gag when we were bringing in these actors where it would be like, "That guy was really great, and let's hopefully they're all really great." And it
yeah,
did really work out that way where there was
yeah.
nobody that
Everybody was
stuck
great.
out that was like, oh, that guy, I'm gonna cut him
Yeah,
from the movie. Basically, I mean, movie's ruined because that guy was so annoying. And even in terms of performance, I thought everyone was so great. But in the crew and yeah, it was like a little big happy family, and I think
yeah,
that was why it was so that's why it really worked. I mean, it's like I said, it's so quick and there's so much we have to do, and there's obviously gonna be challenges every day. But if everyone kind of hated each other, or even if everyone was just kind of like not as cohesive, it would have been a lot harder and a lot more difficult and a lot more kind of on me. But because I kind of really trusted everybody, I was kind of allowing people to really
yeah,
do their job. And that's when I was hiring people and bringing people on, that was the biggest aspect for me that I was looking for. Was I was looking for, like, if I cast this actress, if I hire this sound person, if I hire this, if I bring Teague on, if I let you write the movie with me, um, do I trust them to do their job and I don't have to worry at night being like, "Oh, I don't know if they're gonna be able to pull it off," right? Like,
yeah,
I need to be able to do my job without having to worry that someone else is going to be able to do it. And so that was kind of, that's why everything kind of worked out. Of course, that's an element of like the ability of the person, but then also added on, everyone just got really close to each other, really everyone really
yeah,
liked each other and had a good time. Everyone's been super, even the cast, the people who kind of came in there for a day or so, super kind of glowing about how they enjoyed being on the set and all that stuff, which is super
yeah,
sweet. And that's what you want to hear. I keep kind of saying this last night. I forget who I was talking to, but just about how I really don't have any reference for other. We talked to Sunny, our sound person, kind of about
Yeah.
some of the difficult sets that she's worked on or whatever. And I talked to Kate about this as well, just about how some sets aren't as fun, or some sets are
Yeah.
just difficult for
The
X, Y,
vibes
and
are
Z.
worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is this is not. But I personally don't have any reference for it, because I've just not worked on a lot of
Yeah,
big
this is our
sets.
first time with
So
a crew.
I was actively trying to make sure that everybody felt involved, and we even had some people come in kind of as like guest crew members or whatever, or just kind of guest people would be there for a day or so. And I felt bad after every day, because I was like, I felt like I didn't talk to that person or let that person feel as
Yeah.
involved. So I was actively trying to make sure that everyone felt like a part of it, and felt like they were like I was happy that they were there, and I was really appreciative
Yeah.
of them being there, because I think that was a big reason why I felt I wanted to do something bigger and something with a budget, because even when working with friends or family members or something on a small little short film, it's really hard to get everybody as excited about it as you are. So when it's a little bit of a bigger project, and there's a little level of kind of seriousness, but also like there's an excitement and appreciativeness of working on a project like that, which kind of allowed for that you know thing to happen. But yeah, I that's kind of my long answer for that. But everyone was
Yeah.
fantastic. I love everybody, and we really came away with it. You'll definitely see people who worked on this and people who
Yeah.
were acting this in future stuff, just because of how everyone liked
Yeah,
working
we
with
all
each
got
other.
along. We even I mean, Teague, Sonny, and I even stayed at Owen's house, so it
Oh
was like
yeah,
we had
that
to
is
get
true.
because like, the question was like, "Who's the most annoying crew member?" And it's like, actually on set, really nobody, but then also, like, we had to be around each
Yeah, they
other
were just living with
from
me.
yeah, like, we were just living in Owen's house, and so it's like, not only if we're annoying at home, then we have to then that follows us to work, you know? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
we're just together
No,
all day,
and
and we were
imagine.
not annoying at home, I don't
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
like, maybe, like, a little bit, but, like, mostly we just hung out, which is nice, actually,
yeah,
but just to, like, have an understanding of how close we got, like, it's like we were, we were sleeping in the same place even, it's not like we got to, like, finish shooting and then all separate from each other, it's like,
yeah.
I mean, Teague was sleeping on a couch 4 feet away from me, so it's like I spent
Yeah,
the whole
yeah,
night
yeah.
next to Teague. So yeah, that's like just for reference, and even on set, like I mean, like uh, we'd have to mention like Katie, who was just like the
Oh,
MVP of
yeah.
the entire
Shout out
production, just
Katie.
like did
Katie.
every little thing that we needed to have done.
Yeah.
But like everybody, I mean, a lot of Owen's family contributed on set
Mhm.
as well. Like so,
Yeah.
everybody was involved, and did
Yeah, no, I think,
great.
when you brought up Katie, I think people like Katie really stepped up in a way of, like, I I I sent her there's these forms you have to fill out for SAG every day, that, like, basically is like, "This is how when everyone
Very
arrived."
tedious
Very
process.
kind of
Yeah,
tedious stuff, and I basically sent her a YouTube video, like, couple days before, and was like, "We need someone to do this. I'm asking you to do this, and if you could help me out with this, it'd be great, because I can't worry about filling these forms out when I direct." And I think she showed up day 1 with, like, all of these
like
notes, and
so
she
organized.
watched
Yeah,
the video like 6 times, and I mean, that's why I brought her on, and that's why I talked to her about working on it, like, in January or something, 'cause I
right.
worked on her with some shorts before. I know her from school, and, I kinda know what kind of person she is and how much she cares about the work that she does, and that's definitely a trait and a quality that
Yeah.
is very
And she
important on
brought
set.
great vibes as well, just, like,
Great
very
vibes,
happy,
always.
good
She also,
vibes. She also became our sound person at one point.
yeah, well, that's the thing,
One thing
is
I learned about Katie as somebody who did not know Katie until, like, 2 weeks ago is that Katie will watch a YouTube video and
she will
show up
figure it out.
ready to go to work. Like, she
Um,
will watch a
so
YouTube video
yeah,
and learn what she has to
I well,
know.
I even I talked to Kate about it's confusing. I talked Kate, our actress, I was talking to her about Katie before we started shooting, and kind of called her like a jack of not jack of
Jack of all
whatever the
trades.
knife
That's
is,
true. Our Swiss
the
Army knife.
Swiss Army knife,
She's kinda like
because
our Andrei Kirilenko.
because so in the movie, Anna Marie does not have tattoos. That is a thing that is mentioned in the movie. And our actress Kate has a few small tattoos. And this was brought to me by Kate, and she was like, "We're gonna need to cover this up." And we didn't really have like a hair and makeup team per se. I mean, Kate herself did a lot of her. She did her own
Right.
makeup and her hair before she got to set it. But I was like, okay, we have to figure out a way to cover this tattoo. And I basically texted Katie and was like, "Do you know how to do this?"
Yeah.
And she did. That was another one thing that she did every day that we needed to. She
Yeah.
covered up Kate's tattoo. So she was our sound person at one time. She did the makeup that we needed to do, and then she also was like our PA doing a lot of logistics, having people sign off every day. So,
Yeah.
like you said, really an MVP in terms of fitting
Yeah.
any role that
In
was
terms of
needed and
added
helping out.
value in terms of added value to the production, I like top of the list.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Just like
I
did
can't thank you
everything.
enough, and someone that
Um,
yeah, I kind of identified it really early on, because it is an interesting thing. I think I mentioned this before when we talk about like film school and stuff, where some people are going to be like, I want to be a director, and that's what I want to do, and some people are going to find the roles that they are very good at, and they are going to be very successful and work on a lot of stuff because they'll find their thing. Because you can't have 10 directors on the set. You just that's like okay. It's like you can't have 10 quarterbacks on your team. Like what do you need? Somebody's got to play a different position. Someone's got to do a
yeah.
different job. So that people like that are super important. Sunny, our sound person, incredible sound person.
Yeah.
You need to find people that they do a job and they do it really well and they are really great to have on the team. So we were really lucky to have a lot of people like that really excel at this specific thing that we
Right.
needed them to do, but also even in Katie's sense, able to adapt and help out in various ways.
Yeah. No, everybody was great. So no most annoying person for that question. Friend of the pod, Sydney, who also
Oh
showed up
yes,
on set one day, asked
Sydney
who the
was there.
best roller skater was. That was the day that Sydney showed up. I just included that so we could talk about it. I was
Yeah,
bad at roller skating, like really bad. But you know
uh,
what? I committed and
you did commit.
nobody else
You
really
did
wanted to
commit.
commit. Everybody was like, I'll either everybody else like Teague was just ran. One thing I learned about Teague over the course of this production is that he just like has every skill already, and I'm like, how many? I mean, Teague is a couple years older than me, but I'm like, how many lives could this guy have
He
lived?
has
Where he
lived
was just
many
like,
lives.
yeah, he was just like, oh yeah, I used to teach like kids how to roller skate, and I was like, when? Like, when did you do that? And like, you know what
Oh,
I mean?
we
And it would just like anything that popped up, Teague was like, oh yeah, I used to do that. But I'm like, that's ridiculous. So he was
yeah,
amazing at roller skating. Some people were kind of just like roller skating like at their own pace. I was like, no, I'm gonna try.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I
You did
tried and
try.
I fell a lot. I was the only person who fell and I fell about 6 or 7 times, 7 or 8 times. I'll say 7 or 8 times. Um yeah, and it hurt. I bruised an elbow, I
Yeah,
bruised a hip. The next day on set I was pretty sore, but it was fun. Anyway, that's short answer to that question.
yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
shout out to Sydney as well for showing up one day, and even just
Yeah,
like
Teague was
anybody.
great. So funny note about that day, we if there's a shot where Kate and one of the actors Spencer are roller skating around, and I was in a headspace of we're either gonna have 0 extras or 3 extras on the thing. And I had a friend that was gonna do it, he didn't be able to make it. My brother was gonna be one of the skaters, and then somebody else was gonna have to skate. And so we got down to just my brother was the only person that was gonna skate. And then I asked Teague if he would do it, and he would do it. And then I was like, Tommy was so we had Sunny for 6 days, and then
Yes.
Tommy was supposed to take over for sound, but I wanted Tommy to be there, uh, prior to when Sonny left so he could kind of get acclimated to the set and stuff like that. So this was Tommy's first day on set, and I was like, "Tommy, I have no idea if you can do this, but if you want to and are able to do this, I would love to have you skate around because we need someone to skate around." I forget exactly what he said, but I think he was like, "Yeah, I mean, I was playing ice hockey all
Yeah,
growing up,
yeah,
so I this is nothing. And so he was very good at skating around. So what
yeah.
it actually is very funny because Teague and Tommy are in that scene skating around very well. I think they were probably up there in terms of. I didn't see everybody. I was
Right.
I was kind of upset, not upset, but I was a little like, oh dang, because I wish we did have time to just kind of skate around more for fun because we did kind of. Kate and Spencer had to get kind of ready to do their shot,
Yeah, it took
and
us
so
a little while for them to,
everyone was
like,
kind of skating
figure
around. So
out.
I skated around for a bit, but then we started shooting, and then we ended it and we had to kind of get out of there. So it would have been nice to kind of have
Right.
some more time to hang out and just skate around. But
Also,
um,
fun
I-
note for the listener, Owen's parents, when we were filming other scenes that weren't showing the
yeah,
roller rink, they were skating for, like, 10 minutes without a break so that we could get a scene that included people still making noise in the rink in the background because we still wanted it to sound
yeah.
like
I think
someone was skating,
it'll be
so
interesting because I have no idea how. I haven't really even checked it. No idea how much of that even going to pick up. But I think
yeah.
yeah,
But
Tommy
you're
and my
a real
parents
trooper.
were
He was
really
really,
skating around for like
yeah.
these 8 minute shots. They were just skating in circles and circles.
But yeah, that skating was fun. Okay, and then these are like some really quick, easy answers. Someone asked what camera was used. Fire towers are cool. Asked what camera was used.
We used a Sony A7 II. Sony
Nice.
A7
Uh, JTW 1400 asked, "Are iPhones or other touchscreen technologies shown in the
Um,
frame?"
yeah, oh
Boy,
yeah.
are there
Um, I
iPhones in
don't
the
know.
movie?
I don't think every date, but I will say a lot of the dates have them, and I think it was something that was intentional and when we were writing
Yeah,
the movie, it was written in a way of like, let's try to get some iPhones in here. But even
but then even
on
on
the
set, we had
day,
more. Yeah,
we were like I was actively trying to find ways to incorporate phones. A lot of phones, not a lot of like I think there's some TV. There's a TV in one shot or something.
I think there's two.
There's some like
Yeah,
screens, but it's there's a lot of iPhone going on in the
yeah.
movie, so you'll definitely see a lot of that. It might be even if it was a drinking game, you'd get pretty hammered. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's
There are
true.
a lot of
Yeah,
phones.
there's plenty of them. Someone asked if there will be clouds in 10 dates. Aya said, "Will there be clouds?" Um,
Yeah, there's
there
not.
are, yeah. There's
I
one
was
date with a lot of clouds.
um there's not as many as you might think, given how I act on social
Right.
media and in real life. But it was something that I remember. I think I said this to Kate, but maybe it was something I don't forget. I said this to somebody when because we would do days that we were inside and it would be beautiful and there'd be so many clouds or whatever. And I was worried that when we would go outside, it would look like shit or it would rain or anything like that. But on the days where even when it would be clouds, a lot of great clouds, I never wanted to change the shot or do it differently to get more cloud. I didn't want to like
Yeah.
change the movie to because that's not what the movie's about. So I never
Right.
there are clouds when clouds happen to be there,
Yeah.
but I
It's
did
not a
not
focus. Uh,
refocus the movie to
but cloud
include them.
coverage was important.
Mhm.
Like the weather was just a big factor
Yep.
that ended
Um,
up working out in our favor.
no, I mean
But
I remember there are some people from EVIS in this movie, and EVIS has, of course, been something that I've been a little connected to with the interview and all that stuff. And I've talked about it a ton, but I remember when that movie, I don't know if it was talking to Carson or something that I've learned from just hearing about the movie, but there was like the rainiest or something in that area for of like in history or in the last 50 years, something like that. Something where they had I don't know exactly if they had to change all the days or because so just hearing that of how weather can affect a low budget movie, um and you kind of set your days pretty far in advance and be like, okay, just hope that this works, hope that it's good days. And I think it only rained once, and that was the day we were in the roller rink. So every day that we were outside was kind of perfect weather, which stuff like that you can't really plan. It's kind of a miracle that it worked that way.
yeah.
But and also, I mean, even the days that we were outside, that clouds could be in the shot, clouds were there. So it really, I remember doing a little project that last year and kind of shooting skies and stuff like that. And you just be like, "Oh, I want to shoot tomorrow," and then you get up and it looks like shit, or there's just no clouds, or you know, you really sometimes you really are battling with the weather and in the sky and trying to get that perfect look. But we had really no issues with the weather, which was really great.
Yeah.
It was also too like it wasn't even that hot. It wasn't like super. It could have been
Right,
like
yeah.
totally could have
Could have
been
been,
like
like,
90
sweating
degrees,
on
you
the
know.
screen,
It
yeah.
was like 70 something, maybe low 80s for like every day,
Yeah,
which was great. It really worked out well.
yeah. Anne asks, "What caused the name change?" It
So
it also just sounds better.
it was I don't maybe that name change isn't appropriate, but it's more of like the name is longer, but also 10 dates still apply. People still use 10 dates that worked on it, and people I still call it 10 dates sometimes. And 10 dates with Anna Marie is just like the official title, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But it was something where when we had announced the movie and when we were crowdfunding the movie, we were still writing the movie.
Yeah,
And it was something where I don't really remember exactly when, but I decided that that was going to be the title, but we had not there's a scene in the movie where Anna Marie is like brought up, like the fact that like she's called Anna a lot in the movie, but Anna Marie was not yet in the movie, and so I did not know how to get that in the movie without like forcing it. So
yeah,
once we got it in the movie, then I felt comfortable with officially changing it because it made sense. It could have just been 10
right,
Dates with Anna if we wanted it to be that way, but I liked 10 Dates with Anna Marie, I really did.
yeah,
But she wasn't Anna Marie in the script yet. I had the title before I had it in the script
right,
yet.
and it
So
also just,
we
like
needed to figure that out. But also I think it for me, I wanted to deviate a little bit from it just being 10 skies, 10 dates, and I
right,
wanted it to be its
yeah,
own thing. But also, for me, the way that I was thinking about the structure and the name with 10 skies and with 10 dates, it's like, okay, you're going to get 10 skies, you're going to get 10 dates. This is what you're getting. And I wanted to push that even further with being like, this title is exactly what you're getting. You're getting 10 dates, and all of them are going to be with this person, Anna Marie.
yeah,
So in terms of the way I was thinking about the title and the way I was thinking about the project being very literal and being very much like, here is exactly how this movie is going to work, and you're going to know what you're getting into from once you start going through it. You're going to be like, okay, I kind of know what's coming because of how it's structured and titled. If it was called like something very random, you wouldn't really know exactly what's happening unless you would after the movie you're like, okay, this is how it's structured. But with the title, it is telling you exactly how it's structured. So that's a changes how you view the movie and experience it
yeah,
because you kind of are aware of the structure while viewing it rather than it being something you catch on to or think about after watching it.
yeah, and I also just think it, like, for the question that we started with, like, with the inspirations, I'm like, it does sound, like, nice in the way that it sounds almost like a reference to so many of the movies that we like that inspired this one, where it's like this could just be the title of like a Woody Allen movie or a Romero movie or something, and like you wouldn't be surprised by it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's kind of a fun
It
aspect of
feels
it.
more, like a movie title to me,
Yeah,
and
that
I
too.
felt that
Yeah.
way when
Like
I
once
feel
you
like
told me it, I was like, this is it. Like I'm like, that makes so much more sense than what we
it
had.
I was thinking about it as like a this is my debut feature title. It's missing something,
Yeah.
because and I think it also did help too of like promoting it and it being kind of in everyone's everyone's saying it and stuff like that. I felt like it was missing something, and I don't really remember exactly how I kind of came
Yeah.
upon it, but it was something where I once I knew that I was like, okay. And I always kind of liked long titles. I think they're
Same.
I think I because it's
They're
there's
also just like memorable that way.
yeah, and it becomes more singular. Like you know
Yeah.
exactly what it is because it's you can have a there are great, of course, single word titles and stuff like that, but sometimes it can be it's like there's movies that have the same exact title because of that. and I think there's like a 10 dates game or something that people were confused
Right.
whether this was like from. So I want it to be like its own thing,
Right.
and
It
a
is
little
funny
removed from
though.
other stuff.
Little like side anecdote that I think adds to this and like makes it funny is that it's like another like number 10 movie universe where like the other day my friend asked me for a movie
Oh
recommendation and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I told him to watch How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and accidentally he ended up watching 10 Things I Hate About You instead thinking that he was watching the
Yeah.
movie that I recommended and I'm like that's funny because now does that mean that like he could confuse
Mhm.
our like another person could confuse our
Yeah,
movie with
and
like a different, like plenty of movies with 10 in the title. And also those two movies are also romances, so it's like it's
mhm,
funny that it fits into those. But that also like to me it feels like a cute nod where I'm like we're using the number 10 and it's also like the title of my favorite movie
yeah.
ever. So I'm like it's sweet. Um Okay. Funny. We're about at the 1 hour and 5 minute mark into the podcast, and we've now reached the meaty questions,
Okay.
the big questions. Although some of these are like repetitive, and we've already kind of answered them, so we could probably get through them with some speed. But this is an Owen question. How different was the directing slash shooting process for Owen moving from a short to a feature film? And was there an extensive shot list beforehand, or were many shots made up on the day? STZWXX asked that.
Um, I think it kind of going off what I was saying earlier, there's just a lot of people. There's a lot more people, and although I've worked with people in front of the camera before, I was really alone behind the camera for a lot of the stuff I've done,
Yeah,
where it's just a very different experience. And um, I think I wanted to when because I've shot a lot of stuff myself, but I wanted a DP, and I think someday maybe I'll be fine DPing my own stuff. But I'm really glad I didn't.
yeah,
I think Teak helped out so much in ways that like I just wouldn't have thought about, or it's like I'm very I know what I want things to work and how they want to act and stuff like that. But I'm not very like camera savvy in a way where I've not really like um I've used cameras that I've been able to get a handle of, but I haven't like owned a lot of cameras and been like very like I know exactly what these buttons do and all that stuff. So I can, you know, do stuff with a camera and I can figure it out. But having someone that I could ask a question to, or he could ask me a question and he could achieve that was very helpful. Um, but I don't know. I guess the biggest difference, other than like the crew size, would really be there's a little more pressure and there's a more of like a set time thing going on. Where with
yeah,
a lot of the short stuff, it's like okay, well maybe we'll shoot this weekend, and if I don't get all this stuff, we'll just do it another week. Where
yeah,
there was so much planning and like okay we're going to get these shots today, we're going to be at here, we're going to pick this guy up from a plane. There's just a lot more logistics, but yeah, I don't know, I think also because the way we made it, and I mean I don't think like my style hasn't really it didn't really change, it's just longer for a lot
yeah.
of it. I mean there's a lot, of course there's dialogue now, which
Yeah,
is
I was like,
different.
that's kind of a big difference. Is
There
just
that
that you
but,
don't
like, in
normally
terms of
work
the
with a
way I was
script team.
working was with the way I was working, it was really the same, but the script stuff is different, but that also, like, that's not it's a less feature to short I mean,
Yeah,
short
just
to
like
feature, it's more of just
style and
a
even
new.
budget is just like,
Mhm.
we just had the
Um,
privilege of a budget.
yeah, so it was a bit, but in terms of even not even on set, but, like, a lot of it was a lot of the changes were in the pre-production, a lot of things I had to learn for that, in terms of just a lot of emails and a lot of stuff. Yeah, just I would say the biggest jump would be the pre-production and the amount of work I had to
Yeah.
do for that.
Yeah.
But
And
for in terms of is what the rest of the question said, like the shot was that was still a part of this?
yeah, I was like, you're kind of answering that with the pre-production thing, which is that like we did kind of write the script in a way where we had the shots in mind, but then there were also certain shots that we didn't have in mind, and that like
Yeah.
and that's like a big Teague thing also. It's just that like there were times where Teague would find the shot and it would be like perfect. Um
Yeah. I was thinking about this a lot last night, and yeah, when we wrote the movie, I almost wrote, and I was aware of exactly how I would shoot it. And I started, and I kind of like, this was what I was expected to do, and I felt like this is just what you do, and so I started like storyboarding a little bit to just kind of get my brain on page, and I never finished storyboarding, and we really
yeah.
didn't really use the storyboard a lot because ultimately, like I said, we're going for 3 shots a day, really. So when I knew the location, I knew kind of exactly how the shot was going to be. But when the location was less or more kind of up in the air of like, I hadn't been there recently and we're kind of figure it out. There was more spontaneity. I think we shot at the RISD Art Museum, and that was one where we were there for like 1 from 1 to 4. We had a very specific time that we needed to be in and out, and it was actually a very quick day because I had been to the RISD Art Museum prior to take a tour and take a visit to talk to the people there, and I had photographed exactly how we were going to shoot that movie or that
Yeah.
sequence there. So when we were there on the day, I just showed Teague the photographs, and we set the camera up and we shot it. So that was very like storyboard planned, and it was very
Yeah.
quick. But there would be other days where I'd be like, I haven't been here
Yeah.
recently or at all, and so I have images that we've got from like Google or whatever that gives us an idea of how we're going to shoot this, but we're going to have to figure it out on the day. And I was talking to Kate about this last night, and some of my favorite shots are actually those improvised ones. And I think
Yeah.
that was because I found myself creating those moments on the fly, and and I'm doing them and I'm looking back at them, I'm thinking this would not work like this, or this shot would not be this way without everyone that is working on. Like I felt myself directing, blocking, composing the shots, totally guided by the performers,
Yeah.
and the environment, where it was not something that you could really conjure up without being there.
Yeah.
So there's a shot we did at the, I don't want to actually say, but there's a shot that we did one day that it was basically in the script. We were like, okay, they're gonna talk. That was basically the scene where it was like they're gonna talk on a bench somewhere, or they're gonna be talking standing up somewhere, but
Yeah.
they're talk, and that's really the scene, and we're gonna figure out where we're gonna shoot it on the day. And we were just looking, and we're looking for a quiet place, and we found this really beautiful tree, and I just kind of came up with the blocking how it was going to work there in a matter of minutes. And I really love that sequence because um, I kind of, I don't know, I was really just guided by especially Kate. I really think she I kind of trusted her there, and let her guide me with how I wanted to block that. Um, and yeah, so that was kind of my favorite moments were when that would happen. But it would work in a way where we had so much of that planned and so much of that structure there, so that there's the in between moments that were allowed to be kind of more flowy. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of the answer to that question. But we did have a kind of mental
Yeah.
shot list and storyboard where I knew there were shots that I knew I wanted to get. I knew exactly how they're going to work, and I blocked them in my head. And there's even shots where at the museum, like I said, we wrote it to blocking. Like we like
Yeah.
took the shot with my phone. We blocked it basically. I like to like draw little things. Like
Yeah.
they would
And
start
then we would
here,
write it
they would
into
end
the
here, they
script.
would go here, and then we would write the
Yeah.
script to the blocking. So there would be stuff like that, but then there would be days where
We completely
I was
changed the
there was a
blocking
day
or
there it
like
was the was one of the it was like the second to last day, and I was up at like 3 a.m. and I was like, this is I was figuring out how I was gonna shoot it like there. And it was very that was the it was the last day really where there was an ability for improv, and I felt very like I want to make this. I don't really know how to do it, and I don't really know what I'm doing, but I want this stuff that we do today to be very, very similar to that feeling that I was saying, where I was kind of just like trying to direct Kate in a way that felt right. And more less to how I less structured in the way of like the script and more like how should Kate be directed here. So that was it was very interesting and different, and I don't really know how to explain it in terms of I don't really have another reference to that, but that was something where yeah, so we had those guided blocks, but also it was those moments that felt like this would be totally different if it was someone else. And it
Yeah.
would be totally different if the situation was different, but I'm going to kind of like feel this out, and totally not really understand what it's going on here, but I'm just going to kind of direct in this kind of emotional state. And those are my favorite, again, my favorite parts of the movie because of that. Because it's kind of, I don't really understand it, um, but I think the movie's better because of it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, even like the in between, because you mentioned where it's like some places you wouldn't know. It's like Boston Commons, you do know, but then it's like on the day you have to figure out
Yeah.
like the exact spot in this place that makes sense, you know? So that's like
Yeah, no,
another
when we showed up the
aspect of it.
commons, it was a lot of like, I know how I want the shot to work, but how is it going to work in the commons in a so it
Yeah.
me and T would go for walks and kind of on day set kind of figure out how we do it.
Yeah.
But all, that was very specific. Those are very specific in how the shots would be blocked and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but I love shooting on location. I think we did shoot. There's like two inside days, and honestly, they're not my favorite just because I think there's less spontaneity in the oh
Yeah.
there's three, but there's just less that. There's more of like, okay, this is kind of how it has to be shot because there's just more restrictions here. But when we had more kind of flow, even with the set kind of concepts, I think we were able to do stronger,
Yeah.
uh, or have stronger moments.
Next question. How has 10 dates changed your mindset towards filmmaking, if at all? By the way, both of your fit games during the shoot were generational from George O. Mahoney. Um, I I don't know what photos that's in reference to. Owen
I
had
know.
some crazy fits. I pretty much exclusively wore shorts and a t-shirt every day. So
Yeah.
maybe maybe there was one day where I had pants on even, but I'm like, I
that's
don't know
the
that
day
my
I saw.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know if my fits were that great. Owen Owen had some fun fits. Owen had some good looks, but yeah, how has 10 dates changed your mindset towards filmmaking, if at all?
Well, I guess in terms of like the pre and the writing experience, I and viewing all those films, I've definitely got into some different cinema. But I will say, when I read this question originally and I was thinking about it, it's less changed, more reaffirmed. And I think
Yeah,
we're
that
talking
was a
about
big thing for
those
me.
Hong Sang Soo and the John Jost and kind of the way that we wanted to work. It was very a lot of actors and a lot of people you talk to about it were like, just they've never worked like that, or this is just very not normal the way that we worked. And it is a little bit of like you have to pull it off. How you don't really have like a something to show as an example of like, oh, like this is possible, we can do this. It's so every day felt like we have to pull this off because when you're like, okay, we're gonna shoot 10 pages, 11 pages in 4 hours, um, and we're not gonna do any coverage, and we're gonna do these like 8-minute takes or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, it's just something that you have to pull off, and you have to that's where the pre-production really comes in handy, where you're super prepared and you kind of show up and do it. So I would say it really reaffirmed that that stuff is possible and you can make a movie like this.
Yeah.
Less than it changed my. I would say what I was saying with the directing thing though is I don't really understand it, but it definitely changed the way I mean, just because I was directing way more actors and I've directed a lot more actors in that period than I ever had, it changed my viewing on that a little, or just, like, kind of I think about it a little differently, and I'm still kind of working through it and trying to figure out entirely what it is, but, that stuff was interesting, and that was a kind of a learning experience, but I would say more yeah, again, more reaffirming than
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah, I same with like reaffirming. I'm just like that was kind of the biggest thing for me was like I don't know, probably like I don't know what the day was, but one of the days pretty early into it, I was like driving back from the airport by myself and I was like this like that like the feeling that you get actually do it because it's like I had worked on shorts before and obviously like from my perspective it's like I'm a screenwriter, but I also love movies. And so it's like I
Yeah.
don't just want to be like writing and then not on set. And it's like being on that set, I was just like, oh, this is like to me, there are like other interests I have or whatever, and there are like other things that I love doing or whatever. But like actually being there in the moment, I'm just like, "Oh, this is the best thing in the world." Like truly, like there would be days even on the last day, we're trying to get this like 15-minute long take with like all of these moving parts, like one shot, like
Yeah.
everybody has to nail it and there's like a time constraint. And just like in your brain when you finish it, I'm just like this is like what I've dreamed of doing my whole life, you know? Like being there in the moment and like seeing that happen. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the thing. Like going along with what you said, like that, it's like so reaffirming to be on a movie set and just be like, this is my favorite thing in the world. Like there's like not a single thing that I would rather do with my life.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like the big change is like you don't really know until you try something. And then now that we've like made a feature, it's just like, yeah, that's the thing. Like it's
Mhm.
like we do know now. So that's probably what changed the most in my brain. Not so much like how the process works, which I kind of already understood in my head a little
Yeah.
bit, but actually being part of the process is like a whole different thing, especially when you're doing it with people that you like as much as like we do, where it's like just
Yeah.
it's like we're making it like that's like the ultimate privilege. It's just that we're making it with a bunch of our friends.
I felt because we were in pre for so long and there was so much work and there was so much logistical learnings. I found myself, month 8 or whatever being very like, "Yeah, we just gotta get through the fucking movie." Like, I was never worried about the actual shooting of it as much as, like, I was like, "Once we get there, we'll be fine," and whatever, but I was very much like, I'm ready to get past this a little bit. Um, but also, but when we were there, and I felt this way very I don't remember if it was I felt like it was like the drive home day 2 or whatever. Because day 1, it was very much like we have to pull day 1 off. Once we pull day 1 off, we can pull every other day. Uh, but if we can't pull day 1 off, we're fucked, right? So once we got past day 1, it was a little bit of okay. We did that. We were able to get 1 day done. Now we just got to do that 9 more times. And I felt day 2 was really when it started feeling special, I guess, in my head. And I kind of had a moment of like, fuck, like, because I felt and I knew that it was going to go by super fast. And I knew at day 2, I was like, this is really
Yeah.
fun. I'm having a really great time. I'm really loving being with everybody and kind of having this shared experience. And I know it's going to go by super fast. And I know I'm going to miss it instantly. So, and it did. It did go by super fast, and I
Yeah.
do miss it, and it is a very weird kind of thing. And I think because everyone I've talked to, or like I've talked to you and a few other people about everyone kind of having a similar feeling is a good
Yeah.
thing because I it would be like kind of not weird or but it would just be different of like, I'm like, "Okay, I'm feeling this way," and everyone's like, "Oh, what? No, I'm chilling. I'm fine," or whatever. But
Right. Yeah.
everyone kind of had this collective kind of, "This was really awesome and really special, and I wish we were still doing it."
Yeah.
Which this is, and I it was hard. It's hard to have, like I said this earlier, there's no way to totally know how things are gonna go, and there's just too many variables to kind of know how it's gonna be. But you always hope that things go really well, and when you cast people, you hope that, you know, you like them so much you wanna keep making movies with them. Um, but, there's you never know what's gonna happen. And then it very much felt like you said, like, this is something that feels right, and that you wanna make another movie really instantly. You wanna revisit that
Yeah.
feeling. You're like an addict now. It's
Yeah.
it's very interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I think that it's I don't really know entirely how to put in words, like, why I wanted to make movies beforehand, but now this experience has kind of even pushed the fact that, I wanna continue doing that because of I wanna continue working with these people, and continue you're trying chasing that high of,
Yeah.
doing that. But again, like I also said, like, I didn't really have any reference for it, and I think I was not prepared for that. It was there was so many worries of pulling it off, and making sure it was the best movie it could be. And then you're in it, and it's kind of this very special experience where that I guess I was really unexpected. I was sure everyone was gonna get along fine, and it was gonna go well, and it was gonna be a good movie. But like I said, when I was directing, I think it's a better movie. It's a way better movie in my eyes because of those things. And I think everyone was such a tight knit group that we were able to all kind of get this cohesive vision. And like I said before, that trust that I had in everybody to be able to pull it off.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Robert asks, what kind of challenges popped up during production and how did you deal with them? This is like a very broad question that
Yeah.
kind of a lot of people ask about.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, a lot of people want to know like what went wrong. It's like, I mean, the short answer is like ultimately not that much, but like the long answer is like a
A
lot
lot
of
of a lot of
adjusting
little
to, like,
things.
small
Yeah.
things that got in the way, yeah, and it's just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this happens on this day, and now you have to figure out how to do that," and, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
there is and we could give specific examples if people are, like,
Mhm.
interested in that kinda thing, I'd imagine people are, but, ultimately, like Owen said before, it's just, like, this miracle of, like, everything that, like, needed to happen or the movie wouldn't work did happen. There was, like,
Yeah.
plenty of, like, bumps along the way, but, like, we filmed the movie, like, it's like that we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the movie. So that's, like, the big thing, but I know everybody's, like, curious about things that went wrong, so I mean, we could talk about, like, some of them. What was, like, from
Yeah.
your perspective, like, the hardest like, the biggest challenge, like, the worst thing that happened that you had to fix?
Um, well, I think, like we said, Katie really stepped up, but we did have some issues with we just like some days we would end and we are like, I don't know who's gonna be the sound person tomorrow.
Yeah,
I don't know who's gonna record sound tomorrow. And that is something where I've talked to so many people that watch a lot of student films or these small indie films, and like the number one problem with the amateur
yeah, it's
filmmaker
sound.
is shitty sound.
Yeah,
And it was this experience where I'm like, I have full faith in I know what I'm going to bring to the table in terms of the direction, and I know what the actors are going to bring or whatever. I there's variables that I'm aware of, and I know what we're kind of get at there. And then there's this kind of variable in this sound thing where it's like if we don't get sound or good sound really, if that's fucked, like there's no movie. So that was a challenge just because we had Sunny for 6 days, and then Tommy was there for he did a day of sound, and then, he got sick, and then we were like, "Okay, who's gonna do it?" So then, my cousin Cody did a day, and then I think Katie did the last 2 days.
Yeah.
But, like we said, the Katie had to, like, really figure that out, and it worked, and we pulled it off, but it was like "We don't know how this is gonna work," and there was a day where we were out there, and the equipment wasn't really working, and we were kinda sitting around,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was
that was
like,
the day that
"Oh," um
me, Kate, and our pal Mike
Mike
Donovan
Donovan, shout out.
got to really hang out because Owen and Teague had to
We
run
had to
in the
go
med
on a
and keep yeah,
we
and
had to go
keep
on
in
a
mind, like,
mission.
something for reference is that, like, there were days where locations limited us in terms of shooting, but then another thing to always remember is, like, we were flying in actors for the day, and so they got there in the morning, and then we had to get them back for their flight at night. So even if we
Yeah,
were filming at a location that wasn't limiting us, we
yeah,
always had the time constraint of like, we only get this person for today. Like today is our only
yeah,
shot
yeah.
to get this scene. And so after like an hour of setup, Owen and Teague were like, we have to go to Best Buy and get
Like,
and
find
figure out our
something.
mic situation because our
Yeah.
yeah, so that was like a problem where it's like we already are limited in time. And then by the time that they got back, we were already like 2.5 hours into our day by the
We
time we
hadn't shot
started filming
anything.
the first scene of that day.
That was a tough
Um,
day, but we
yeah,
it we ended up getting everything that we needed, and it came out
and
great,
that
it
day
looks
looked great.
fantastic,
Yeah, that day,
but that was a
yeah,
day where yeah, it was good I mean, that's another thing, like, Teague was super helpful, and I think as much as Teague and Kate, their talents are gonna show up on screen, they really kind of helped me stay, like, mentally afloat, where stuff like little things like that where I was, like, losing my mind just because of and it's no one's fault, it's just, like, there's the equipment isn't really doing what we need it to do, and now it's like, "What do we do?" Because if we do not figure this out
yeah,
in the next hour or so, like, we're fucked. So stuff like that happens not every day. Some days were super smooth, but of like, some
yeah,
days, like, the first day, like, we had a monitor and we didn't really know we didn't couldn't find the cord to the monitor, so we had no monitor and so it's little things like that. There
yeah.
was
First
like
day, also we had a script issue as well,
oh Jesus.
so
So
that
yeah,
was a
I guess yeah,
problem.
we can say that. So we don't really still know exactly what happened. I'm assuming what happened was I had sent Kate's agent a version of the script that they could
Yeah,
read over and if they liked it or not, they would show her or whatever. And then I had sent Kate the final draft of the script, which
yeah.
very similar movie, but there are differences and it's a
There are
lot of
changes.
dialogue
Yeah,
and I'm assuming what happened, this is the only way that it makes sense in my head, is that Kate down or had both versions of the script and printed out the older version. So it's day one, and all the craziness of day one, and Kate is going through lines with sushi and she they realize that Kate has a different script than Sushi has.
yeah,
Which I mean, I can't praise her enough for her performance, but also the fact that Kate was totally fine, like, after day 1, basically, like,
just
in
like
terms of, like, knowing
learning
like,
changes on the
she
fly.
exactly,
Yeah,
like, unreal kind of mental ability there to be like, "I have a different version of the script. I gotta read all this and relearn it." Um, yeah, insanity, but,
yeah,
that was an issue on day 1 where we were like, "Fuck, Kate's been
right.
practicing and memorizing an early draft,
Yeah,
which could
and
like,
that, like,
if
scared us,
with a
but
different actress or someone else, like, could have just fucked the whole movie. It really could
yeah,
have if, because it was fun. I felt there would be guys that come in for a day, and they have, like, their 10 pages or whatever, and they were often not to talk shit, but they were often the people that I would need to kind of give more oh, whatever, like stuff like not everyone, but but Kate was very down. And I think if Kate wasn't, there's so much stuff because she has to do. She's basically 104 pages of script.
Yeah.
Obviously not saying every line, but there's just so much on her shoulders. And that was definitely something where we when we were casting the lead role, it was a very difficult task,
Yeah.
because when we're casting the guys, it was like, okay, we like this guy's fun, this guy's nice, he seems talented, we have a good talk with him, whatever. But worst comes to worst, like if he sucks and we hate him, he's only in it for a day. He's only in it for 10 scenes. Luckily, everyone was fantastic and great. But if we really didn't like him or whatever, and they happen to be in the movie, they were only in it for 10 minutes or whatever. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of weight on this lead performer's shoulders, and we didn't want to just cast anybody to cast anybody. And I couldn't have gone better. I think it's
Yeah.
very
I mean,
interesting.
like, as lucky as you could possibly get
Yeah.
with who we ended up
It's very, I
casting.
keep thinking about it where like I wrote the movie. It's like you write the movie, you shoot the movie, and you edit the movie, and there's the three stages. But I really felt like we wrote the movie, then Kate came into the movie, and then I edited the movie. Where I really felt like the movie really changed when she entered the picture, and it's very fascinating because I don't know how it would even work without her. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that was definitely a challenge on day one, but it really didn't affect any of the other shooting because she had it down. Um, but yeah, small stuff like that, or
Yeah. I would
I
say a
can't even
lot of
think
the
about.
stresses are just the what ifs that ended up
Yeah,
working in our favor. Like you said, I mean, not, and again, this isn't to discredit any of the actors who ended up all being amazing, but it's like in the moment you don't know. Like every day we wake up and we're like, is the person that is on set for today going to be able to
yeah.
do what we're asking of them? And thankfully all of them were, but it's like that's one of those same with,
Yeah.
like we mentioned, the weather. It's like that's always
But
there
there
was
was
a
people
day.
flight could have gotten totally
Yeah.
canceled.
Yeah, flights could have gotten delayed or canceled or whatever. I mean, there was a day where, like, this one specific Monday, like a week ahead of time, we were just all, none of us were saying it out loud, but all of us were just like seeing that we were going to be filming outside and that the weather forecast for that day was rain. And every day I would check my weather app and be like, oh, maybe it's gone away. Maybe it'll leave. And then, like, the day before, like the night before, I check it and it says like now it's only like a 10% chance for an hour, and I'm
No.
like, oh, that's as good as we could get. And then the morning of, that 10% chance even disappeared and the rain was just gone, and I was like,
Oh my
wow,
god.
like could not have gone
Yeah.
better. And it's like that's like a big thing where it's like you're stressing about things that
There's
can
a
happen,
billion things that
but
can go wrong constantly.
yeah, but
Um,
in terms of ones that actually did, it was like way less compared to the ones that we thought could have happened.
yeah.
I think the other thing we didn't mention, just in terms of like what ended up causing a lot of the big problems, was like not just sound equipment but sound environment, where it was like there was a lot of times where we would have, because one thing that people need to keep in mind, and you'll see it when you watch the movie, is that like all of these, if you don't already know, are like long continuous takes. And so
Yeah.
every scene, every shot is anywhere between like 2 and 15 minutes, like long shots. And so for us to be able to pull that off and for it to be a working shot, there can't be any like things that go wrong in the middle, because if we're 5 minutes into a take and something happens, we can't edit around the
Yeah.
thing that happens. That whole take just becomes void.
Scrap,
And
yeah.
so we were in situations in public, for example, where we'd be 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes into a take, and then all of a sudden someone's baby starts crying right next to the camera, or a motorcycle flies down the road and takes over the mic completely.
Yeah.
And so, like, like days like the park that we mentioned, we shot in the park twice, and like those days, completely uncontrollable. Like we
Yeah.
can't control what is happening around us in the park. We can only control what we're doing in the park. And so, cars honking their horns ruin a take, an ambulance going by ruins a take, a guy who plays the violin right next to us ruins a take, and then I got to pay him $20
Yeah.
to leave. which I shouldn't have even done, but that's a different story for another time. So like
No,
stuff
yeah,
like
there's a
that,
lot
you
of
know,
that's
like
like super small things, but things that totally derail and you're like, fuck, like what are we gonna do? Luckily, we were able to overcome all those small things. But yeah, there
yeah,
was a lot of like
things
we
like
filmed
that.
at a on a mini golf course, and it's you'll see it
Right.
in the
Oh
movie. It's a
god.
very long take where
Yeah.
we are going like through three holes, and
Yeah.
we didn't we didn't get a shot where there would be no other people coming into the mini golf course because they we didn't want people in the movie. There's people that randomly
There's
in the movie in
people
the
in the
background,
movie,
but
but we didn't want people in that shot.
yeah, exactly.
And
So we were trying to shoot this shot. I don't even remember. It's a pretty long shot. Maybe it might be like
yeah,
6 minutes long. Um, you're trying to get like a 6 minute pocket where no one stepped
was mini
into the
golfing.
frame. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The
So
problem is this is a mini golf course designed for children,
it's super short.
and and thankfully the place that we shot it at was very nice and
Yes,
accommodating.
they
But
were
one
super
thing that
great.
they can accommodate is other people there, and we can't really like stop children from mini golfing. But the problem is if a child walks into the shot on this hole and we're filming on three different holes, now all of a sudden we got to wait for this child to go from one hole to the last hole and then leave so that we have the whole shot.
Yeah.
But children don't mini golf very fast, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they take their time. So the
Yeah.
second a child walks in, all of a sudden they're in the shot for like 15 minutes
Mhm.
before they leave. And that was like, yeah,
Yeah.
children were like a running theme on set, I would say, was that like we were just in a lot of environments where kids or
Yep.
babies got in the way.
Mhm. A lot
Um,
of stuff like that, or when we were at RISD Museum, it wasn't too big of an issue, but we have this pretty wide shot, and again, it's a public place. There were signs that said we were filming and stuff like that, but
yeah. But people could still walk into the like,
I'm looking at Teague and we were all very like, "Fuck, fuck, fuck," because we were so close to the end of the take, and we saw this lady about to walk in, and then, like
yeah, like thinking about it.
and then she ended up walking in, but not in the shot and then leaving. And we were just watching her and like not we can't say anything because we're in the middle of the take and the actors are acting and we're all kind of watching and watching and watching and
Yeah.
praying that she does not enter the shot and ruin it. So a lot of like stuff like that. But luckily, in terms of like what I've kind of keep bringing up, like we were able to pull it off every day where we're like no matter those like weird random things that popped up, we got the shot. We were able to get
Yeah.
the shot. We were able to get a good take every time. But those things would come up naturally when you're in those environments. Um, so yeah, stuff like that. We were at a
Yeah.
movie theater,
Yeah, there's
and
plenty of other ones that we could like.
yeah, we were at a movie theater, and the only other screening was like a baby mom, like it was a mom baby screening or
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah,
we're
so
in.
I misinterpreted this screening, by the way, until we talked about it, like, the day after we wrapped. Because in my head the whole time, I was like, "Oh, this is a movie that moms are taking their babies to," and it was like a sensory screening where they're showing them, like, Bluey or something. But what it actually was is that moms can bring their babies so that the moms can see the movie and not have to like hire a babysitter or like get somebody to watch. Like it's like a
Yeah,
screening specifically designed, so it's like, oh, this, you know, that this room is going to be filled with babies, but we're here to watch Freakier Friday or whatever
yeah,
the movie was. So that was like, I didn't know that until days after we shot it. I thought they were like showing the babies the movie. But anyway, there were babies everywhere.
yeah.
So
Which it could have been worse. I mean, if that was a very busy
yeah, they
theater
were
and
not
people
as loud.
because there was never a time where a baby ran in front of the screen. Like,
Well, babies
totally
don't
people
really like, they were in strollers, you know?
but
They
there
were
we
like,
it could have been like a thing where, people were going to see a movie, like, across the hall or whatever, so people were constantly walking through it or whatever. That wasn't the issue, it was more so,
yeah, just the
um,
background
you might
noise.
hear I haven't edited that sound part, so but you might hear some baby background
Yeah, you
noise.
might hear a baby crying and be like,
If you
"What?"
hear a
But
baby
now you
crying,
know. If you're listening to this pod, now you know what
yeah,
what was
yeah.
going on around us while that scene was happening. But yeah, that's like I'd say the biggest hiccup was just stuff going on
Yeah,
around
stuff goes
us.
on,
Stuff
but I
stuff just like
mean,
out of our
oh,
control.
and,
But
uh, there was some sicknesses going on and,
yeah.
just,
Yeah, people were
stuff
getting sick.
shit was
And also the
happening.
thing about the sound is that, like, it works in tandem with the time constraint, which is like we we have to get today done in this amount of time, but then anytime there's a sound issue and we have to redo a take, and then it's like now we have to spend another 10 minutes on this take and another 10, and it's like because there's such long takes that it's like you only get so many chances to do
Yeah.
them. So any like little hiccup would then add to like then I'm like looking at the clock and I'm like, oh, we're gonna, like we're cutting it close. And some days we did cut it close, but
Mhm. Yeah.
we got everything we needed to get. So that was the challenges. Jimmy asks, what was your favorite date to shoot slash write? I don't know if you do you have a different answer for these? Like did you prefer writing one to
Date to shoot.
actually doing it?
I don't know. Do you have what is your answer for this?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I don't know. From the writing perspective, I'm almost like not entirely sure.
Mhm.
I think what I like actors, certain actors, when I was on the ride from the airport, would be like, "Oh," like because they knew I was the writer, so they were like picking my brain a little bit about their part, and I'd
Yeah.
always try to like, and this isn't to say that I'm lying. I do think this, but I was like always trying to like say the most positive thing about their scene,
Okay, okay.
because I'm like I want them to be in the right headspace. I don't want them to be. I don't want to be like, "Oh yeah, I hate this one." Like I'm like this one's my least favorite. So I'd be telling them like what I
Yeah,
like about their scene. And
interesting.
ultimately over the course of that 10 days, I realized I really like all the scenes that we wrote. Like I
Mhm.
think we did a good job on all of them. But one thing I remember saying was like, I do think I found myself a little bit more attached to the back half of the dates when Owen and I got in like our like flow state a little bit, where it's like the beginning, like the first couple dates we wrote, it was like us figuring it out, and then eventually we ended up going back into them and changing them so that they would like
Yeah.
match the later dates better. But it felt like we've really understood each other by the time we were writing the back half of the dates. So like
Mhm.
from a writing perspective, those were probably my favorite or the ones that come closer to the end of the movie. But from a shooting perspective, it's kind
Yeah,
of
I don't
hard to
know. I
pick.
don't know.
Um, and it's also like I would almost answer this question with like a variety of factors, which is like what was like the most like you know what I mean? It's like both like what was like the most fun we had, but then it's also like which one was my favorite location, and then like which one did I think we did the best on? Like
Yep.
it's like that's all like those are all different answers. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
don't
have an
know.
answer?
Well, I was thinking about because I thought about this like the whole as I was kind of looking forward to it because I really the stuff we did with Mike Donovan, I really
Yeah.
like that part in terms of writing. Like I just had a lot of fun writing that part. It's a really like kind of offbeat writing section. But like we said, like that shooting day was kind of insane and it was very stressful. So it wasn't my favorite like shooting day. I think it looks beautiful, but it was a crazy day. But and then I would say like in terms of the opposite, where the movie theater day, it's like the shortest in terms of dialogue. I think it's like a one shot with dialogue. Um, but it was just such a cool like I said, like that second day was that very like, okay, this is very special, and I'm like really falling in love with this. Um, and it was like we got there, and there was such a great location, and Sophie Holsinger was there that day, and everyone was kind of really getting into kind
Yeah.
of the vibe of things. So not even that it's my favorite like looking day, or I just that felt very special to me, and I really enjoy
Yeah.
that
I
day.
think that one might be the most like fun, just like being with everybody and hanging out and like having a good
Yeah.
time day.
It was really had a great setup. We were in like the projection booth and we kind of had the
Yeah.
whole cool place to kind of do our thing, and the people working there were super nice and let us start earlier, and, um, it felt we had so much free roam there, and so that was super nice. But I don't know, I mean, I really like we really got so many great locations, I think, uh,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed doing a lot of like, it was just so much fun
Yeah.
that I don't really know exactly what my favorite one is, but I think there are some like that where I think it differs in terms of I really like the writing, but maybe the day was really hard. I think
Yeah.
those park days were kind of difficult, but I really like how they came out.
Yeah,
Um,
those, like, look amazing. I think I'm, like now that I'm, like, looking through it and, like, trying to compare, I'm like I think in terms of location, maybe not and I think my perspective is probably different than yours because you were the one supervising how the movie looked, but just, like, in terms of what I saw, I really liked what you mentioned, the Mike Donovan date in terms of, like, like not even necessarily the look, but just like the vibe of the date. I'm like, that's like the cutest date in the movie to me, where it's like the first shot is like the most, and again, I'm trying to like say this without just telling the people where we are. Like, I don't want to just
yeah, yeah,
explain the whole movie to people because I want them to see it on, when they see it. But, like the first shot is like this like gorgeous landscape, and then like the second shot is just as gorgeous. And then like the third shot is like this perfect like that was the most to me like feeling like a really proper like cute date and it just like it like made me feel good. So it's like that, but then also like in terms of like look, the RISD stuff is just like unreal to me. Like I'm like the every shot there in
oh
terms of
yeah,
like how both how the actors are blocked, but then how they work with like the artwork that is in the shot. I was just like, that was the day actually, because I think that was our third day of shooting, right?
yeah,
Where and we did that day very fast. Like we got there early, but like that day was only like 2.5 hours of actually being in the location, and that
yeah.
was the day where I was driving back from the airport, and in my head, I was just like, "Oh, this is the best thing in the world." Like, so maybe that I don't know. Like, it's weird. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like I have a
I felt
different
really
answer
good about
depending on
that
what the
day
question
just
is.
because of how quickly we moved through that, and like I said earlier, that we because I had those iPhone images of exactly how we're gonna shoot it, it was very we were able to do it very quickly. Um, and yeah, it was just really cool. I think a lot of times we would show up to a location and everybody would like be kind of collectively been like, "This is really a cool spot to be filming at." And that was, I mean, a kind of
Yeah.
months long challenge of finding these locations and getting the yeses on that. I mean, I talked to many movie theaters, I talked to many museums, talked to many different places, and really lucked out with the places that we got and really gorgeous. Uh, Locations. So it was always fun going to a spot and everyone kind of being like, "This is really cool." Being able to do it in the museum was really awesome. But yeah, I think it is. There are a lot of times that are different in terms of some that I really like the writing of, but the actual day of shooting or the location
Yeah.
is not my favorite. Or um, but
Yeah. No, yeah, it's
everything
hard to
everything
answer.
was
It's like I think
pretty
we
good.
did ultimately just end up liking all of them, but just in varying like ways and
Yeah, yeah,
factors, and
and
that's like
how
I
we
could
were kind
answer
of
the
feeling
question.
on the day,
Yeah, it's
and
like I could answer the question 10 different ways for each of the 10
yeah.
dates, but they were all awesome. And again, like it's like what we said about the crew too, where it's like we all just like got along so well that there's like that aspect of it where everybody was like having so much fun. I was also thinking about the date with the mini golf and I'm like that was like the most like we're kind of just hanging out while we're filming day. You know what I mean? Like it was a
Yeah.
lot of us just like kind of having a good time while we're so it's like every you know what I mean? It's like there's just a different angle to this answer. Like
Yeah, I
you could
mean,
you could give props to every
the
date
RISD day
differently.
was like we had to be super skeleton because they only let us use X amount of people, so it was just a different vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think the next day we were at the roller rink and we had like maybe the most people we had ever, which was super fun. And that was super fun too, just to because we had the whole space and people were just kind of skating around and really that was a really fun day too. I mean, we had a lot of fun. I mean, I think that's the big thing to take away from this. It
Yeah,
was
big takeaway,
real
it was fun. We had a
really
good time.
fun. Everyone's
Uh,
super amazing, and we
which
love
leads into the next question pretty well also. Did any funny things happen on set? I mean, like, generally, we all were having, like, a laugh most of the
Yeah, oh
time.
yeah, we were having a laugh.
Um, we were
Um,
having a laugh, but,
there
like,
were times it's not really a
proper
fu
funny
there were
things.
ti not really that it's a funny thing that happened on set, but many a time where would me and Teague be behind the camera really trying to keep it in because
Yeah.
there's a lot of I mean, many of the most of the script is a lot of just me writing jokes, and I think they're funny, but then when they're performed, and there's that extra element of people, being funny on camera, but also we're watching them, and I think day one, two, there's a lot of improv in day one. We had a
Day
lot of
1 is so funny,
there's a
yeah.
lot of improv in that, and it's just like it's not even really a funny moment in terms of like randomness. It's just we kind of let them improv, and that was me and Teague were trying to keep it. Everyone's trying to. That was we're in a super
Yeah.
small space too. Everyone was super tight.
Yeah,
And
what I'll say
everybody is
about
kind of
that
trying to keep from making a sound.
something
And there was no that we never had that issue where no, it was never a time where like someone like had a cough or something
right.
or someone like laughed too out loud because they
But
couldn't hold it in. But they were
but I
yeah
was thinking about that a lot.
yeah.
Like, that's the one thing that I would say is, like, from my perspective, the most stressful thing is something something you have to, like, remember or, like, keep in mind when you're watching the final product is that anywhere at any point when you're watching the final product, picture the actors and then just picture me as close as a person can get to the actors without being in frame, and that's where I am. And so there would be takes where something funny happens and I can't react or I can't even like make a noise because I'm so not only am I close to their mics, but I'm so close to them and I can't distract them.
Yeah.
And Kate would give me a lot of shit for this also because there was so many scenes where it's like they would and I speaking of the Mike Donovan date, we love to
Yeah, shout out
do
Mike
the full name with
Donovan.
Mike Donovan. But Mike Donovan said to me that he almost broke because he didn't realize during one of the shots that I was as close to him as I was. And he like turned to Kate and then in the corner of his eye saw me standing right next to her. And he almost like couldn't hold it together that I was just like right there. So that was the thing. You mentioned the apartment. It's like when we were in the apartment, there was a scene that I thought was so fucking funny. And I couldn't react because I was literally like we're not only are we in such a tight space, but it's like,
Yeah.
there'd be times where I'm like my we're like 6 minutes into a take and my throat is getting dry, but I'm like, I can't drink water because then someone's gonna hear me like fucking gulping on the mic or something. So it was like things like that where I was just like trying so hard to stay quiet.
Yeah.
um there were funny like little incidents too, I would say,
Oh,
but
of
like,
course. I mean,
you know,
even, like, some of the stuff we mentioned as, like, challenges, like, I think the babies, while annoying, were super funny. There are some kind of movie magic moments that I think when you see the film, they'll happen and they're so insane that you just could not have like direct you cannot have planned these things. And when those things happen, that's another added element of like it goes from almost like, oh fuck, this is gonna ruin the take to it makes the take the best take ever, but also you have to keep that all controlled. But yeah, I think mostly like a lot of improv that was really funny. Michael Roberts, who's in the film,
yeah, I
it,
mean,
it's he's the really funny improv he did
funniest
there.
improv
Super funny.
imaginable.
There's a lot of, I mean, a lot of guys are just really funny. I think that was kind of it's very comedic kind of movie, and when you're bringing funny people together to read funny
Yeah,
lines and kind of improv and play with it, there's going to be a lot of that. But a lot of laughs on and off the court, and
on and
overall a
off the
good
court.
overall a good time.
Yeah. Someone asked, and I think honestly, this is like one of those shorter answers where we've kind of already explained it in detail. But which of the 10 dates presented the biggest challenge in terms of filming? Luke Church asked that. That I think I don't know if you'd agree, but I'd imagine you'd agree. I think our last 2 days were the 2 hardest because the shots were the most complicated, and especially our second to last day was by far the longest that we filmed for on any of the days, where, like, when we were leaving and I went to pay for parking and it told me how long my car was parked for, I was like, "God damn."
Yeah.
Like, we were there for a while, and
The
those last 2 days, we saved the most involved takes for the end in terms of like actors
yeah.
moving on
Well,
screen
we
and
just had the
blocking
most
had to be
actors
perfect and yeah,
on those days, so, like, a lot of the days, like, okay, we have 2 actors, maybe there's 3 actors, maybe there's 2 and a couple extras, whatever. Um, on the second to last day, we had 6 actors, I think, like 5 speaking roles or something, and then another, like, decent group on that last day. So, to go along with our sound issues, or not it, maybe we figured it out, but sound complications, the new sound person that had been hoisted up to this position, how now in a deal with not 2 people like everyone else did, but 6 people or something like that. So those were difficult in terms of, like, we are doing our most difficult stuff and we are having people learn on the fly. So challenging, of course,
yeah,
but it all worked out. But very fun, and I will say, that was something that we're like, when we made the structure of the film, it was very like, okay, we're gonna have this one character go on these dates with these 10 people. Um, and then I began to write roles with people in mind, and these little, like, they almost act as like cameo roles, or kind of day roles, or kind of bit parts. Um, but I ended up just keep constantly writing them, and whether it was written for a person that ended up not doing it and then just getting cast anyway and just staying a part of it, I kind of liked, and I remember talking to T about this, where I would be like, I'm writing this role for somebody, and if this person doesn't want to do it, I flesh out this character because I base it off this person. So it worked either way, but then we end up having all these roles. But I got so into casting people and talking to people and bringing people a part of it. I wanted to bring as many people as I could a part of it, that I ended up writing roles for people and writing these little roles. And so there's so many roles coming in and out, and so many people involved. And the cast list is super long. I didn't really. I mean, looking at it on Letterboxd, I'm like, damn, this is a
yeah.
lot
There
of
are a lot of
a
people
lot
in
of
it.
people.
Yeah, no, you
So
don't
many people,
realize,
which
but
is not normally when you're making this, like, an indie super small movie. They tell you to do like a one, two characters, one location, kind of super
yeah,
small.
yeah, we did
And one, like, it's cheaper.
all the
It's
locations.
cheaper, right? But also it's not. It's like a logistic nightmare to cast so many people in all these locations. So that's just another thing you have to pull off. And the night before, I'm texting 8 different people and making sure everyone knows what they need to do. And um, but that part was
Yeah,
so much fun, and working with so many different people. But it definitely was an added challenge. The more people that are on set, and the more actors that need to speak, and the more actors that needed to know exactly what they needed to do, was just an added challenge. So it
yeah,
was planned in a way where we started with the easier days, but there was definitely a time where, maybe a little, like, halfway through, it became, okay, these next days are going to be difficult. And they were, but thankfully we were able to pull all of them off.
yeah. Uh, Christian asks, was there any part of the production that was an unexpected negative or unexpected positive? If you could do it again, would you change anything? I think the first part of that question kind of has already been
Yeah.
answered with some of the other stuff, obviously. Like we said, like, you know, uh, unexpected negatives would just be all those like things we mentioned, like stuff that we can't control with sound or whatever. Um, Unexpected positive, I don't know if you have an answer for. I think the unexpected positive also we kind of hinted at for me, but just like not that it was unexpected, but just didn't expect it to be so great is what we said with the actors, where it's like everybody was just like as good as could be. Like where it's like, obviously, even like from my perspective, it's like casting Kate was a real Owen decision. And so it's like
Yeah.
obviously I knew that Owen wasn't gonna pick somebody he didn't trust to do the hardest role in the movie, but, like, I didn't know her, and
Yeah.
it's like and that's, like, kind of one of those unexpected things where it's like, not only was she as perfect as a person could be for the part, but then we also, like, totally got along from, like, the first second,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
for context, like, me, Kate, and Teague road tripped up to Owen's house, and we were in the car together for, like,
I know, imagine how
6
bad that
hours,
would
you
have
know, I
been if
drove yeah, I drove into the
she
city
gets
and
here and
picked up
she's
Kate and
already
Teague, and I'm
totally
like
over you guys and, like,
right,
wants
exactly. I'm like, imagine we get in the car and Kate, like, hates us, and then we're in the car for 6 hours, and now she's gotta spend 10 days with us, and instead, the complete opposite happened, where it's, like, unexpected to the point where it's like, now we're friends with this person who
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks ago we didn't even know, and now we're like and now we feel
Yeah.
like we have this, like, unbreakable bond with each other, so, like, in that sense, I would say that's the biggest unexpected positive is just, like and even some of the other actors, not just Kate, but it's, like, other guys who I, like, picked up from the airport and got to talk to for a while. I was like, "Oh, wow, like, this
Great
person's
guys.
awesome," and, like, they would be like, "Oh, we should, hang
Yeah.
out sometime because 'cause we're, like, in the same area," and I'm like, "Of course, dude," like, it's like I didn't expect to, like, come out of the process with, like, new friends, you know? Like, that's, like, an unexpected positive. It's like
Yeah.
I was mostly just there for the friends who I already had, like me, Owen, Teague, like, people who we were, you know, we were making the movie with our friends, but then we get all these extra friends and all the like, we're meeting all these nice people, and, like, that's, like, yeah,
Yeah.
probably the biggest unexpected positive, I think.
Yeah, I will I'll totally agree on that, and I think even like what you said with the guys, not that I had, like, a pre when you're casting people, you kind of like, "Okay, I feel this way about this person, and I feel like this guy's gonna bring this," and there were some people we cast really late, um, that really blew me away, and I really like, their performances are some of my favorites in the movie, but I had no idea what to expect from them, um, beforehand. It was kinda like, "We need somebody, looking for someone," or, there was times where it was, like, unsure who was gonna be in the movie and if we're gonna find someone that could do it, and then you end up casting someone, and then they end up being some of the best parts of the movie. So stuff like that really worked out. Um, people in the movie that, um yeah, some really fantastic people, just super fantastic people
Yeah.
that are super helpful. Steven Rodosha was not even that it was unexpected positive, but everybody that is in this movie that was on EFIS were some of the most professional people,
Yeah.
I talked to, really, and they're super, excited and ready to work and helpful. The theater that we shot at was actually a recommendation from Steven. I did not know where we were gonna shoot a theater. I contacted every theater I could think of, and I was emailing with him, and I kind of was like, "Hey, do you have any ideas, where we could do this?" And he recommended that theater, and that worked out perfectly. So stuff like that, just really helpful, stuff. And then actors really performing over expectations, I guess I could say. But yeah, I mean, Kate, like I said, really, like, she really did change the movie. And I think it's interesting what you're saying about the casting, because, like, I think I mentioned this, but there was a while where we just did not know who was going to be the lead,
Yeah, we were getting pretty close to the
and I
end
was
of,
like, I
like
don't know, and like
yeah.
we had a lot of the guys cast before we cast Kate, and I remember, I think, Kevin, you were away, um, and I kind of was like, I think this is it, but I have to, because a lot of the people we cast on, like, a audition kind of, back, like, they audition and all this, so we had this whole process. But a lot of the auditions that we were getting were not, we just didn't feel, they were like, okay, they're good, but when you're casting a role of this magnitude and you're really giving your baby away to someone, and be like, I have full trust in you that you are going to do this amazing job, it's tough to be like, okay, they were good, the tape was good. It's just like, the tape was good, but you really want to go to sleep at night being like, we found the perfect person to do this. So
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of behind the scenes negotiations and talks, trying to see if that was be a possibility. And yeah, it all ended up working out perfectly. But so I was super excited to have her before we even got there, like I was really happy that we were able to find someone that I felt could do it, but also we still did not know how it was gonna go, right? It could have,
Yeah.
whatever. But immediately upon, first interactions, and then after that first day and of acting, like, but as a person and as a performer, very like feel vindicated in that decision and feel
Yeah.
like it was the best decision we made for the movie. But when you're doing it, you're like you're excited about it, but also like who knows?
Yeah.
So it's very I can't even looking back on it, it was so much like I don't know, we're thinking about this person, this person, this person. So many people we're thinking about, but now it's like I can't imagine the movie like without her, and it's very interesting how that's
Yeah.
evolved so quickly. Because again, like working on it for 9 months, having a very clear, this is kind of what the movie is. This is who we're thinking about. We're talking to a lot of actors. We're getting a lot of tapes, and then I don't even remember. We cast her very late. We
Yeah.
did. It was like okay, there's a month
Like,
before we start shooting,
like
um,
really late. Yeah.
and I had one phone call with her prior to shooting. We had texted a little bit about it. Mostly, I was in talks with her agents and her team. We had one phone call prior, um, but yeah, I mean, I can't really uh,
Yeah. It's like the
say her
movie.
praises enough. I
Right, it's
really,
like the movie is just an infinitely worse movie if she's not a part of it,
yeah, and
like, it just
that
w I
was
honestly,
yeah,
you could
yes,
even
yeah,
argue
yeah.
that it just, like, wouldn't have been a viable movie without her, if it was just
No,
another
this
actress, we might
wish
just
it
watch
would
it
have
back and be
sucked.
like, "This sucks,"
Yeah,
yeah,
well, that was the thing where it's like, okay, you're doing your best, and you're giving this movie your all, and you're working your time on it. But yeah, if we cast it, we if we did a really bad job casting the movie, it just would have been not that good. It
yeah,
would have been, it would have been like, oh, this is a cute little movie, but I really like, I am really happy with it, and from like an image standpoint, but also I think that the performances overall, but really, I think Kate elevates it to like another level,
yeah,
where I'm like really, really happy with it, and super excited for you guys to see it eventually. But
yeah.
yeah,
I think I think also the answer to that second part of the question of, like, would you change anything is no. It's like,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
obviously, there are, like, things
there's
that were
small
out of our
things and there's
control
things
that
that
maybe we could have gotten luckier with,
sure,
but I don't
but
know.
yeah, of course, I mean, looking back on it, there are things that you might have done differently, or we might have
Right.
done a little different,
We
like
did plan
little
for it
tweaks,
so much,
but
but yeah.
I think, yeah, I think of the way that it went. It went so well that it's like I don't wanna touch any of that. I wanna
Yeah.
leave like, this is I'm
Exact that's
so
what I mean. It's like we will just, like, change,
there
like,
are things I've learned
little
from the
things here and there
process.
for another movie, like, that we learned, but it's like, I don't know that I would have
Yeah, I don't
wanted
want
anything to go
yeah,
differently
which
than
is
how it
it's
went.
just good. I mean, it's
Uh,
it's weird being in this post making it world, because there are so many, like I keep saying, like, kind of these variables and obstacles, and there's so much work that had to be done, and so much that could have gone wrong, and crazily enough, like, it went really well,
yeah,
which is, like, silly to say, but, like, it went incredibly well, and I think that's a part of why everyone is, feeling kind of a mutual way about the things, because it was one, like, the set was so great, everyone had such a great time, but also I feel like everyone's super happy with the work that they did and how it kind of came out, which is I feel like just talking to Kate and talking to some other people who worked on other projects, of a decent size, it's not always the case, where it's like sometimes you might love everybody who worked on it, but the actual thing you're making isn't that great, or you're not loving what you made. Or sometimes you might like what you've
yeah,
made, but you didn't really have a great time doing it. Where like I said, I was kind of I really like I just need to get through this, and be like I just need to have the film, and however whatever happens happens. If it sucks and I had a miserable time, I'll still have the film, right? But I had a great time and I really liked the movie. So yeah, I don't really think you changed anything there. I think
yeah.
that's
Uh,
best case scenario, really.
Next question from Cliven, I think is also sort of a quick toss it aside because we're at this point we're repeating ourselves with all the like negative things. It says, "What was the single most stressful moment on set?" And again, we've already kind of like talked about plenty of this stuff. You could tell me if your answer is different, but I feel like I might know the answer, which is that like on our very last day, we got the shot that we needed with like 2 minutes on the clock
Oh
maybe
man.
before we were
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
run out of time, and for context, the shot that we filmed on the last day is the longest shot in the entire movie, and so if we didn't get it on that last take, we just didn't have it, and so that also adds to the pressure because when you're at the end of the movie and we have everything else already, it's like if we fuck it up, like if we trip at the finish line and then
I
you
know.
know what I mean? Like, it's like, that sucks. So, like, the pressure was even added to it because it's like,
And
not
the
only were we
police
working
showed
until the
up.
very last second, but it would have sucked to mess up on the last day.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why it was the
and that
last
was
day, but also
yeah,
it was like we basically had a we were there from 7 to 11,
and
and
2 hours of that was just setting up.
exactly.
So
So we start from 9 to 11. We basically needed to get one really good take. And the
yeah,
shot, I think the first take was 16 minutes long, the
yeah.
first time we did
So
it.
only so many
So you
opportunities.
can't do too many of those. And we had
Yeah,
the police showed up and
yeah. Oh, speaking of funny moments, we didn't mention that. Yeah,
so
that's probably the
I
funniest
had
thing
no
that
I did
happened.
not see the police, but
Yeah,
we had some characters. There's a scene at a restaurant, and characters are walking in and out of the restaurant, and
yeah.
um there are
Do we
people
wanna spoil
no, no, no,
this?
I'm not gonna spoil
Okay.
exactly why the police showed up, but there's people that
Okay.
are outside of the restaurant, just like
Yeah.
waiting to come in and being kind of suspicious, and it's very early, and so the police showed up. I don't think in the middle of the take. I don't know. Was it in the mid?
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the
I
take.
think it
So
was in the
they're
middle.
like asking them what's going on, and so it's like luckily that could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah.
The police didn't really ruin anything,
Yeah,
but
the
it was
police
not.
could have been like, "This movie's fucking done."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like, "Wrap it up."
But so that there's another element of that. But yeah, that was a time where it was like there's so many moving pieces. There's so many things going on
Yeah.
here.
That was
It,
the one with the most, like, factors by
and you
far, was,
have
like,
to pull
everything.
and Teague
Yeah.
is right next to me. He's trying to hold in his laugh, and it's it's a lot of craziness. And
Yeah.
even
That scene also, I'm fucking that stressed me out the most because there were other scenes where I had to, like, give cues,
oh yeah,
but that scene, I had to give like 4 different cues for each of our moving parts. I had to like look across the room and
yeah,
be
yeah.
like, "Okay, now you go and now you go." And then I had to like communicate with the people outside. We had like a system of
Nope.
people doing cues to make sure that everybody did everything right. But that's also like one of those things where it's like when you
Yeah,
pull it off, that's like what makes you love it. Where you're
I
like, "Oh,
will
we
say
actually
I do
did
think
this
that the
thing."
Mike Donovan day was more stressful to me because it was like, fuck, like, what are we? Because
'Cause you didn't know if it was gonna
that day
work.
was like, we have to pull it off. Like, it's gonna be hard. And we had some issues, but we're all right. We just kind of gotta get the take. And I do feel like sometimes I'm like, just like let me curl up in a ball and hope that this take is goes through. But I think that day was like, I don't know what we're gonna do because like it was like the equipment's not
Yeah.
working. It's
Yeah, you
kind of like
felt like we lost
you
it.
just kind of have to
Yeah.
stand there and sort of be like, okay, I'm letting you fix it. So we went to Best Buy and we got it ended up being fine, but it was kind of like I don't know what to do right now. So that was tough,
Yeah.
but like I said, all work all worked out.
Yeah, everything worked out, so but there were some stressful moments for sure. I mean, Owen was definitely stressing more than all. You should have seen how stressed Owen was behind,
Oh
like,
man,
offset, like, when we were offset, when we when we were at Owen's house, like,
yeah.
Owen had a couple moments where he was pretty there'd be times where Owen was, like, panicking, and I would, like, make eye contact with Owen's mom, and we would both give each other this look of, like, what do we do? What do we say to him right now to, like, make him not, like,
Yeah.
freak out? But he was already mid freaking out.
Oh man.
So
Yeah. Well,
so,
that's
yeah,
I
there
said
was
that,
definitely some
but
stresses.
everyone kind of kept me.
Yeah. Uh, I think no, actually, I guess we didn't answer this. Did you ever go off script at all? Maybe some
Right.
improvisation from the actors or a change in how you wanted to shoot a certain scene? That was from Alex. I guess we did kind of answer that. We did both like find out shots on the day, and we also, like Owen said, there were plenty of moments where actors did some improv. I don't know that that was like going off script though, because part of our
Uh,
plans with the
yeah, yeah.
script was like, oh, we want actors to improvise a little bit and add a little bit of themselves. So it's like, yes, it's
Yeah, it
going
was
off script, but it's also
always
like that was always
intentional.
calculated.
I
That was like a calculated.
I will say there's one moment then that Mike Donovan date where Kate came up to me and there was a line that she thought should be switched, and I thought about it and I was like, I let's do it like that. Let's do it like that. And that was very much like I kind of I trust you and I
Yeah.
think
And
this
there was
is
like lines we
right.
cut and
And
stuff.
there's stuff that
Yeah.
we cut and there's stuff that we cut. Like there would be times where like an actor would forget a line and then I'd be like, I like that better. Or they'd say some, they would say something,
Yeah.
then I like that better. We're gonna just keep like that. But yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
times where um it'll be very interesting if I mean I think eventually there will be some version of the script that's available online
Yeah.
and it is radically going to be different from the what you see
Yeah.
from an improv standpoint, but also from a I have an assembly cut of the movie already, and there are these 10-minute blocks, and the the three shots that take up the date might equal 16 minutes or something, right? So
Yeah.
6 minutes from those three shots are gone. So that's like
Yeah.
6 minutes of dialogue that was in the script that is just not in the movie. So there's a lot of writing, and we wrote the movie we were like, I don't know how long this is going to be. So we have to overwrite. We have to overwrite because and like day one, I was like, oh, because we did a shot and it was like 12 minutes long. And we let
Yeah.
them improv and stuff, but like even that shot might be like 7 minutes long, 8 minutes long. So actually, that is something that we did improvise a little bit. We wrote I think date 3, I think. We wrote 3 shots for that thing, but we wrote a safety shot basically. Because I remember we were writing this and I was like, "I feel like this is enough." But we had 2 shots. It was a 2-shot date, which is normally a lot of them are 3, some of them 4, some of them are 2. We we wrote it
One
was
of
a
them's
2
one.
yeah, we
Yeah.
wrote a 2-shot date and Kevin was worried that it might not be enough time, so we
Yeah.
wrote another shot in between these as like a safety, like for time. But then we shot it was the first day we shot, and uh we shot that first take and it was like 8 minutes long. And I was kind of like very
Yeah.
like quickly, I was like, we're scrapping that middle shot. Just because one, it was like we were figuring out a lot of stuff. It was day one, it was kind of hectic, it was a long day. And I was like, that's probably not, we're not gonna use that. So let's just get really good 2 shots. So that was the only time where we cut a shot because it just like it was a
Oh,
first
yeah, it
day
wouldn't
and
have.
it was way
Yeah.
longer than we needed to. But there are a lot of I really had to cut my darlings, and there's a lot of lines I really like that are just not gonna
Yeah.
be in the movie because there's so much footage and there's so much dialogue, and it ultimately is a good problem to have because we have a lot of good stuff. But because of the
Yeah.
structure of the film and because of these long takes and because of the editing style that the movie has, not everything is in the movie, which is
Yeah.
natural, but it is an interesting thing where when you're shooting it, you're really shooting scenes and you're really shooting these pieces. And then when you're editing it like this, especially, it becomes this kind of cohesive piece. But because of the way we're editing it, you can't, I'm not going in and taking the best chunks and like jump cutting around. It is a lot of like I'm editing the tails or the front and the end of the shot where I'm slowly touching a little off this. And I'm going over here and touching a little off this, taking a little off this, and kind of playing with all of them to get the perfect balance that equals that 10-minute mark. Um, which that is very interesting, and it also is something that I think will learn with this movie, and then we'll kind of take into the next one of how long these takes are, because it was something where we had no idea. We had no idea,
Yeah.
and that oneer that we did, day one, I was like, "Oh fuck, that's gonna be super long." And like I said, I think the first one was 16 minutes, because when the one that we thought might be 4 minutes was 8 minutes, the one that we were hoping was 10 was going to be way long. And I think it actually ended up being like 11 minutes on that final shot, which we got it down because we were having the cues come in fast. We were like real time like cutting dialogue by having cues come in faster and interrupting them and stuff like that. So that was kind of an improvisation of like cutting some dialogue by having interruption cues come in faster so that they would jump
Yeah,
the page a little bit and then therefore
yeah,
make the take shorter, but basically editing the middle on the day because we can't do it later, which
yeah,
was a challenge, but ultimately I think worked out for the best. Um, but
right.
yeah, that's kind of that. There's a
I'd
lot of improv
also
to it and a lot of fun.
yeah, I'd also add on the point you made about publishing the script online somewhere. We probably won't like edit the script to match what's in the movie. We will just publish like our final written version of it. One thing I noticed on the last day, and thank God that Steven is a pro, there was a line, and usually I'm very good about double checking the script. I'm really like I make
Did he
sure
bring
I
this
do
up to you? I
everything
don't think
right.
I've heard this.
There was no, I didn't say it to you, but there's it's because it's like so minor, but I was like, there is a typo in the script, and I'm
No.
like, I need to go back in and fix that before
Oh,
we publish the
did
final
he
draft
notice it or did
online.
you notice it?
And he didn't say anything to me, but when he
Oh,
acted it, he switched the word that I mistyped. And
gotcha.
I was like, good thing he caught that and knew what the phrase was supposed to be
Okay,
because we wrote the phrase wrong. And I don't know how it slipped my mind, but I didn't
gotcha.
realize that like in the final script that we sent to people, I was like, oh, that's not the right
Mhm.
phrase.
Okay,
So thank God he picked up on that, and I didn't even bring it up to him because he picked up on it in the first take and then said it the same way every single time. So I was like, okay, he in his head already has the
yeah.
right version of it memorized. But yeah, anyway, for whenever we post the final draft of the script,
Okay,
I got
yeah,
to
yeah.
make sure to
You'll
go
have to
back in
tweak
there
that.
and fix that little typo. um, uh, this question, I think, is kind of already been answered by our inspirations, but are there any references to other movies in 10 Dates? Santi asks. I think, obviously there are like,
Yeah,
there's Romare references, there's 10 Skies, I guess, is a structural reference. I don't know if,
yeah, well, that's more I guess that's more I guess title is yes a reference, but, like, it's more inspiration.
yeah,
I would say there are this is a tough thing to totally answer because there are so many movies that are kind of flowing into it, but there are direct references. Like,
yeah,
movies are mentioned and there's movie posters in the film, there's
that's
movies
true. Yeah,
explicitly referenced in the film. People talk about movies in the movie, but then
yeah,
there are shots and also there's references to things that are not movies that are like inspired the shot or whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of movies referenced, but
Yeah,
also
conversationally, there's tons of
sort of
stuff.
like I said before, where it's like there are I watched a movie, probably wrote a few notes down, and that inspired some bit of dialogue, but it's so like there's like levels of removal that I've completely forgotten what even started that idea. So it is like there's so much just baked
Yeah, you
into it.
might be watching some random ass movie one day and see a line and be like, wasn't that?
Yeah, it's like
And
that's
it
sort of
probably,
like,
yeah.
but yeah, so that'll be actually an interesting thing, and I kind of um I don't know what they I challenge people to when the movie is
Find all of
out
them.
to
Yeah.
try to see as many references and trying to see as many things as you to think because there's like and it's not like references and not even in a way of like because I think when you're referencing a lot of times you're referencing like the moments in movies. But a lot even there were even times where like it would just be a singular word. Where I would watch a movie and like I like that word. And it's not really a reference. It's just like a
Yeah.
I like inspire. I'm like that word's nice. Let me figure out how to get that word in
Yeah,
here.
it's like, let me make a sentence and then a whole
Exactly.
conversation
Where it's like
around this
it's
word.
totally removed from the actual context of where I found it, and have no idea where I found it from. But I would just be like, I like that word. That's a nice word, or like that is a nice topic. Sometimes it would be even topics where it'd be like they would talk about I don't know. Say they were talking about like fish or like seafood. Something they were talking
Yeah.
about seafood in some movie. Then I'd be like, oh, that's funny. Seafoods is something to talk about. I would write seafood, and then I'd have a whole separate conversation about seafood in the movie. That's not a thing in the movie, but that's kind of how sometimes it would work. Where I'd be like, that's something to
Yeah.
talk about because so much people just talking about shit. So I'm like, what is something that someone could talk about? And then I'd be like, here's my take on uh
Yeah.
space colonies or something, so but
Right.
so there's I don't even think that's really a
Yeah.
reference, but
Millions of
there
references,
are so
technically.
yeah, it becomes if you think about it in that way, there's a million references to things, but there are more explicit
Yeah. You will
references
just like see
and
movies referenced
and
and
there
talked about
are things
and
talked
stuff like
about,
that.
but there's
Yeah.
also like we were even showing a I was showing Kevin a shot yesterday, and I also showed it to Doug, and they both brought up Twix as like this is a very Twix shot. And when doing it, I wasn't thinking about Twix at all or editing it or anything. I wasn't really thinking about it, but it was kind of there's always kind of in there. So definitely a lot of inspiration there, and I'm interested in. I really can't wait to share it with everybody and have
Yeah.
everyone kind of pick my brain a little bit on that because there's just so
Right.
much in there in terms of
That
all these different things I'm thinking about.
also perfect lead into our last question, which is a question about the future and a pretty easy one for us to answer. Are you considering submitting the film to festivals in hopes of distribution, or are you guys going to try and self distribute? That's from Tyler. Owen and I have already kind
Whitmore?
of talked about that. Not Tyler
Oh,
Whitmore,
sorry,
but
sorry.
no, Owen and I have already kind of talked about this. But yeah, that's been our plan since even when we were writing the script. Is
Yep.
like our goal, is for this to be as big as we can make it. So we're gonna submit it to festivals and see what happens, and then the self distribute part of that is really dependent on the festival part of that. It's like
Mhm.
if we get into you know fucking praying a major festival, that completely changes everything. But if
Yep.
if we maybe only get into a few small ones, then yeah, maybe we'll just like distribute it online for everybody
Yep.
to be able to watch and have. And but the point is we're excited for everybody to see it, but in terms of like giving people updates for the future, that is still a long ways away. It's not like we post this podcast episode and then 2 weeks from now you guys are going to be able to watch the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
Sadly
not
not the case.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have big aspirations for it,
So
is what
I would say the
we'll say.
timeline right now is I mean it still needs to be edited. There's a lot of editing to be done. But the like submission festival wise is around this time anyway. So next year we will be submitting to festivals, which means the year after that, which is 2027, will be our festival year. So there will be updates on that, and whether or not it gets in anywhere. But like Kevin said, if no one takes us, right, we will
Yeah.
have our plan B will to be getting it to you guys. So you guys will see it eventually. It will just have we'll kind of be on that journey. And
For
it
a
is another
while.
it's another like unknown kind of thing where we feel good about it. We really like it. Everyone really likes it that it worked on it. But now we kind of have to test those festival waters, and that's really not something that we have too much experience with, and we we could do really well or not in terms of getting
Yeah.
in.
Or it could be really tough. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
And
we'll see from there.
yeah.
So yeah, it'll be a while. And it'll
Yeah.
be weird too. I'm excited to we joke about the 1 month reunion and all that stuff, but it will be weird revisiting it when it's finally out and be like, we did this like 2 years ago,
Yeah. No, yeah. I
But
haven't thought about that, but that's a good point. And the hope is like that we just get to do it again and then we're not even thinking about it,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or it's
yeah.
like
Exactly.
if we get to work with all the same people again, then we're gonna just be like it's gonna feel normal a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anyway, there's stuff happening in the future for those listening. It's just you might
Yeah.
have to wait a little bit for that.
Indeed.
But you guys will see it eventually, and hopefully you're excited. And obviously, if you're listening and you're somebody who contributed to the making of the movie, then like the biggest thanks ever that we
Of
got to do
course.
this
Yes.
because of you guys. Like, just like unbelievably grateful that we got to do this because of you guys. And hopefully uh,
Hopefully you
in the
guys
next.
like it.
Yeah, hopefully you like it, and hopefully on the next one we don't have to ask you guys for as much money. You know what I mean? Hopefully there's a world in which this is a proof of concept for our next movie, and then
Mhm.
we
Yeah,
can get
'cause
some funding that doesn't require us begging you guys for money. But if we have to resort to that, then hopefully you guys still have a little bit left in the wallet also.
yeah, hopefully you
if
guys
if you
get
like this one.
I mean,
Um,
in a few years, you guys will be rolling in dough, so, you
yeah,
know.
hopefully. That's true, that's true. Anyway, we were going to talk about news this episode, but, ran pretty long here, so I think it's probably, unless you wanna talk about
No,
some movies, I think
I
it's
think
probably
it'd be
fine
kinda
to.
weird to be, like, talking about a movie for 2.5 hours and then shit on somebody's other thing, so
Right, yeah.
probably
And
probably
to
not,
be
like
fair, a lot of this news
probably
we
not
could hold
cool.
off on. I guess if anything, I'd ask you like about the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey engagement.
Jesus
Do you have
Christ.
any do you have any
No,
opinions
I
about
don't
that
really
to end the
I
episode?
don't really have any thoughts,
Okay.
yeah. I wasn't
You weren't prepared to be.
there's a lot going on in my life right now, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I got my own
Are you
stuff.
excited for our fantasy football draft tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Um,
You have a strategy mapped out?
nope. I'm just gonna
Okay.
free ball it
Yeah, just see what
like I did
happens.
last year.
And I guess it worked out for you. Did it work out for when did you what did you
Yeah, no, I think
what was
last year. I had the little trophy on my
did
yeah,
you win?
thing.
I know, well, yeah. Okay. Alright. I'm just not remembering, but maybe you did win. That seems right.
Yep.
Uh, okay. Alright. Anyway, the point is no
Okay.
news. We're gonna skip that. Hope you guys liked listening to us talk for two and a
Yeah,
half
and
hours about
also,
our little movie.
feel free to ask more questions in the comments, and
Yeah, we'll answer other
I'll just
stuff
answer them in the
if you
comments.
got
Um,
questions based off of what we talked
yeah,
about.
so
Yeah, and then next week we'll be back. I know people are wondering, and I think I mentioned this however many weeks ago. We do have New York Film Festival coming up that will continue to alter our podcast schedule. So, like I said previously, hang tight with us at least for the next 2 months, and then things will be back to normal. But until New York Film Festival starts, we'll be back to normal at least for a couple weeks. Next week, episode 131, we'll be talking about Highest to Lowest, which will be streaming on Apple TV in a few days, and hopefully, then everybody can watch it since it only played in 8 theaters or whatever. But next week we'll be talking about Highest to Lowest, and we'll see you later. Bye.
bye, guys.